Chapter 823. After arranging for 30 sovereigns to be on standby, Jun Xuanji once more gave the order to gather people from the Profound Mysteries realm. Xuanji, don't feel pressured. It's not your fault that we're in a passive position. 3 years ago, I went to the Nine Regions world. At that time, the Nine Regions world was in chaos. I just didn't think they would be able to work together so quickly, said another elder. He was another peak saint, Shang Luo. Jun Xuanji nodded. According to the information he had obtained, the Profound Mysteries realm was certain to win. But suddenly, many variables had appeared. Now that the coastline has been sealed, we can't gather any more information. Before the battle started, we should have arranged for an ambush in the Nine Regions world, said Jun Xuanji. Other than cultivating, Knight Sorrow was also thinking about the variables of this battle. After cultivating once more, Knight Sorrow went to the command tent. Do you have any other plans? Asked Lin Yuandao. Yes. I want to know the details of the Saints' agreement, said Knight Sorrow. There aren't too many restrictions. It's just that you're not allowed to attack the other side's people or set up formations. In other words, you're not allowed to attack or interfere in the battle, said Xiaolongjun. So it's normal to gather information. Right now, our people are sealing off the coastline. If the other side saints come to gather information, that's also permitted by the rules, said Knight Sorrow after thinking for a moment. No. There's also a rule that saints can't enter the other side's territory. If a saint enters the other side's territory and the world source perceives it as an attack, they'll be in trouble. Our Nine Regions world source is incomplete, but it's still easy for us to kill a saint. A few days ago, we went to investigate the teleportation formation. Since it's in our Nine Regions world's territory, it's not considered a war zone, so we dared to do that, said Xiaolongjun. So it's like that. I understand, said Knight Sorrow. Do you have another idea? Asked Lin Yuandao. I want to know the location and situation of the spatial channel between the Nine Regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm. Right now, we're the ones defending. The flames of war are burning in our Nine Regions world, so no matter how we fight, we'll be at a disadvantage. If we know where the spatial channel is, we can spread the flames of war to the Profound Mysteries realm. Knight Sorrow thought. Thought for a moment. Saints, if there's no such thing as an agreement, you're going to let the saints go. That's right. If they're not careful, they and sovereigns will, said Knight Sorrow. That's true. We must be cautious. Xiaolongjun nodded in. 2. This. The. F. A moment later, Western Taiji and the other sovereigns arrived. They knew that Knight Sorrow's side might make a move again. Western Taiji told Knight Sorrow that the war broke out in the Nether Canyon. That was the first battlefield. The Profound Mysteries realm's invasion site was there. We need to stabilize the current situation. After we completely stabilize the situation, we need to win. Sky Underworld Saint, Western Taiji, I'm sorry. The situation in the Western Nether region still needs to be maintained, said Knight Sorrow to Sky Underworld Saint and Western Taiji. Knight Sorrow, although I'm sad that the Western Nether region has fallen, I can understand the big picture. So, you don't need to apologize. If there's anything wrong, it's my fault. I didn't listen to your advice back then, causing the Western Nether region to be handed over, said Sky Underworld Saint. After we stabilize the situation, what do you think, Knight Sorrow? Asked Xiaolongjun. Hee. I still won't send people to the spatial passageway because it's destined to be a huge pit. However, I'll go there personally. Knight Sorrow stood up and said. Nonsense. You're now the commander of the Nine Regions world. How can you go there personally? Xiaolongjun reprimanded him. The others also shook their heads. I've always supported all the decisions you've made during this period of time. This time, it's a little unreliable. Lu Qin said. City Lord Lu, you have your reasons for opposing, but I have my reasons for going. Back then, when I entered the netherworld as a void inquiry stage expert, I was able to survive the encirclement of countless venerable realm nether beasts, but the others couldn't. If I don't go, won't the pit at the spatial passageway kill many of my people? Knight Sorrow looked at Lu Qin and said. A general success is built on thousands of bones. It's impossible for there to be no deaths in a war. What you need to be is a general, not a skeleton. As long as we win the war, the deaths of some people are nothing. I can go there. Lu Qin looked at Knight Sorrow and said. She was resolutely against it. If I tell you that this world war is just a training exercise in my eyes, would you believe me? Knight Sorrow said with a smile. After that, Knight Sorrow told them about the great war that happened once every 10,000 years and the war that was about to break out in the netherworld. The 9 regions world is going to enter an era of war. We can't afford to lose people easily. Knight Sorrow told them about the great war in the heaven profound world and the situation in the netherworld. The 9 regions saints are actually just materials. Xiao Longjun smiled bitterly. I can't do it now. Once I become a high-level exalt, I'll go to the spatial passageway and bring a group of people into the profound mysteries realm. At that time, I'll kill, not just take a beating. I'll beat the profound mysteries realm until they can't enter the 9 regions again. I'll completely crush them in one go, said Yishan. At this moment, no one objected to Knight Sorrow's decision anymore. Smiling at everyone, Knight Sorrow left the tent and went to his mother's tent. Son, don't tire yourself out. Come and have some tea. Yu Qing poured a cup of tea for Knight Sorrow. Mother, how's the effect of that saber? Knight Sorrow asked Yu Qing. First V2 inch, it's very suitable. I don't have the strength of a saint, so I can only display the power of a high-grade spirit artifact. In addition, with the help of the dragon spirit pills, I won't be able to reach the peak venerable realm for long. It's only a matter of time before I reach the saint realm. You don't have to worry, Yu Qing said with a smile. Knight Sorrow chatted with his mother for a while before returning to the command tent. What other arrangements do you have? The Grand Elder asked Knight Sorrow. Here are 50 dragon spirit pills. 1 pill can raise a venerable's cultivation by 1 level. You can make the arrangements. In a month, I hope that the 9 regions world will have more peak venerables. Knight Sorrow took out 2 bottles of dragon spirit pills and threw them to the Grand Elder. Then, he returned to the god-slaying squad side. He also wanted to see how the god-slaying squad was doing. After Knight Sorrow left, the Grand Elder looked at Xiao Longjun in surprise while holding the bottle of dragon spirit pills. Chapter 8:24. After arranging things, Knight Sorrow drank tea and chatted with Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi. They didn't feel much pressure, and they just cultivated diligently. They didn't lack resources. Knight Sorrow then went to the edge of the realm's sea to cultivate. His true Qi and myriad Dao Tome had just advanced, so they needed time to stabilize. If Knight Sorrow was stable, then the 9 realms world would be stable. After all, Knight Sorrow was the commander. If he was so confident, then the others would be. After cultivating intensely for half a month, Knight Sorrow felt that his cultivation base could continue eating dragon spirit pills and using desolate stones. For cultivators, stabilizing their cultivation base was very difficult. One reason was that they had to spend a lot of time nourishing themselves. The other reason was that they had to fight intensely. Knight Sorrow and the other members of the god-slaying squad chose to cultivate intensely. Before entering seclusion, Knight Sorrow drew a 4-person formation diagram and gave it to Tai Shu. Under normal circumstances, Knight Sorrow wouldn't go looking for Xiao Longjun and the other saints. The main reason was that he didn't want them to be tainted by karma and violate the contract. Taking the diagram, Taishu and Lu Qin found people to draw it and then sent it out. Night Sorrow then went to the Profound Mysteries Realm's secret teleportation formation to take a look. He saw that Entropy was still busy with the formation. "Protector Entropy, what are you doing?" Night Sorrow took out a jug of wine and shouted at Entropy. "I've been messing around with my research recently, and my understanding of formations has improved. Now that I've entered the Grandmaster realm, I've changed my formations again. Let's make them suffer a loss." "Let's make them suffer a great loss," said Shang after opening the wine jar and drinking 2 mouthfuls. "Haha, that's a good thing. A Grandmaster formation isn't easy to break. If they can't break it in a short time, we'll be able to kill them," said Night Sorrow. "Don't worry, young master. Leave this to me," said Entropy confidently. After walking around and leaving some dragon spirit pills for the god-slaying squad, Night Sorrow found a deserted place and entered the Spacetime Pagoda. Night Sorrow, being the commander of the 9 zones, is very tiring, but there is nothing you can do about it. Xueshi made a pot of hot tea for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow smiled at Xueshi. "How have you been? How's your cultivation recovering?" "It's not as fast as before. After all, the spatial storms in the realm's sea helped me stabilize my cultivation base. Now, I can only do it slowly," Xueshi said to Night Sorrow. After that, the two of them cultivated together for a while. Night Sorrow gave Xueshi some yang qi, and Xueshi helped Night Sorrow nourish his body, myriad Tao Tome's energy, and true qi. Nodding at the blushing snow dusk, Night Sorrow contacted Little Kong and entered the Spacetime Pagoda's 70th floor. Next, he consumed the Dragon Spirit Pill and began cultivating with the Blood Spirit Tortoise Crystal. Currently, Night Sorrow's body was saturated with elemental energy. He could use the Blood Spirit Turtle Crystal to help him cultivate the Myriad Tao Tome. HAC is 4, and the other 6 were all D, R, and Z versions. Normally speaking, Night Sorrow could only enter the 66th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. Any higher and he would be injured. However, Night Sorrow's body was so strong that he could ignore this injury. This was also why Little Kong dared to transfer Night Sorrow to the 70th floor. Time slowly passed, and Night Sorrow's cultivation base steadily increased. 20 days passed in the Spacetime Pagoda, which was only 10 days in the outside world. Night Sorrow's cultivation base had reached the peak of the 6th level Venerable Realm. However, the Myriad Tao Tome was slightly weaker, and he had only reached the middle stage. After all, the Blood Spirit Tortoise Crystal's effects were slightly weaker. "Night Sorrow, I'll infuse some time energy into you. Try and see if you can absorb it. If you can absorb it, then even if you don't have the Desolate Stone, your body's elemental energy will always be saturated." Little Kong communicated with Night Sorrow, who was about to get up. Night Sorrow nodded and continued to meditate. Soon after, he realized that there was a special kind of energy within the energy that enveloped him. He knew that it was the time energy that Little Kong had mentioned. Circulating the Myriad Tao Tome at full speed, Night Sorrow opened up his body and started to absorb the time energy. Then, he started to refine it. It was a very pure energy. When Night Sorrow was refining the energy, he also refined the gray elemental energy. After refining it, Night Sorrow realized that his power of Desolate's attribute had increased. After cultivating for half a day, Night Sorrow stood up. "Little Kong, you're too awesome. I can use the time energy to strengthen the Myriad Tao Tome. However, the consumption is a little high. Activating the time energy above the 70th floor requires 5 high-grade spirit stones a day. However, it shouldn't be a problem for you," Little Kong said. Night Sorrow smiled. Other than the Saint Spirit stones that he couldn't use and wouldn't squander, he still had over 700 top-grade spirit stones. He didn't care about using high-grade spirit stones. After chatting with Xueshi for a while, Knight Sorrow casually washed up and left the Spacetime Pagoda. He then went to the command tent. Peak 6th level Venerable. Knight Sorrow, your cultivation speed is too fast. Seeing Knight Sorrow's cultivation base, the Grand Elder exclaimed in shock. It wasn't just the Grand Elder who was shocked. Lu Qin was also shocked. I ate the dragon spirit pill, so my cultivation base rose a little faster. What's the situation now? Knight Sorrow asked the two women. Prince Wu Yu, King Yun, and Venerable Wu Hen haven't returned, so we don't know what's going on in the Profound Mysteries realm. We can only strengthen our cultivators and strengthen the defense line. Also, we've mobilized the demon beasts of the Unbounded Desolation and Qingtian region. They can act as our eyes and ears. Also, the saints are guarding the defense line against the enemy's spies. They won't be able to easily invade, said the Grand Elder. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and said, in the future, don't let those saints do too much work. After all, the saint contract isn't a joke. If there's a punishment, it'll be serious. Alright, we'll pay attention. The Grand Elder nodded. Then, the Grand Elder told Yi Shang that 3 more invincible supremacies had appeared in the 9 regions world. One of them was Yi Shenquang from the Night Moon Dynasty, Li Changtian from the Extreme Celestial Locale, and Supremacy Yan Yu from the South Li region. Continue to strengthen the high-level combatants and allocate resources. City Lords, please put in some effort. The 9 realms are in a world of chaos. The more experts we have, the greater our chances of surviving this calamity. Knight Sorrow stood in front of the tent, looking out at the realm sea. Knight Sorrow spent the rest of the time cultivating by the realm sea. 2 days later, Yi Wuyo, Xue Wushuang, and Xue Wushuang returned. Their battle robes were stained with blood. It was obvious that they had gone through a great battle. Father, King Yun, Venerable Wu Hen, you weren't injured, right? Knight Sorrow asked the 3 of them. We weren't injured. We were ambushed and trapped in the enemy's formation. They sent peak venerables and venerables to surround us. If your father hadn't been able to tear open space and take us away, we wouldn't have been able to return. Xue Wuling cupped his hands toward Yi Wuyo. At the last moment, he and Yun Tianlong's lives had been saved by Yi Wuyo. They're starting to be ruthless. Don't go there for now, said Knight Sorrow with narrowed eyes. Shang, it's useless to go there now. They've realized that the Western Nether region's territory has become a burden, so they stopped occupying it. Instead, they've gathered their forces in the Western Nether region and Eastern Cloud City. Even if we want to ambush and harass them, it won't be effective, said Yi Wuyo. Yes. Their commander has some brains. That's interesting. Knight Sorrow looked at Lu Huahaining. Chapter 825. Poison. The sooner the better. I need it, Knight Sorrow said to Huahaining. I'll give it to you within 7 days. Huahaining bowed. Huahaining was a peak saint, but he didn't have the potential to become an invincible saint. After that, Knight Sorrow invited his father, Yun Tianlong, and Saint Wu Hen to drink. Then, he went to the seaside and started cultivating. Knight Sorrow had his own plan. Once he became a 7th level saint, he would go to the enemy's camp and mess with them. Seeing Knight Sorrow cultivate, no one disturbed him. Everyone trusted Knight Sorrow and knew that Knight Sorrow had his own plan. At this moment, in East Cloud City's City Lord's mansion, Jun Xuanji looked coldly at a group of people in front of him. You all swore that as long as those 3 entered the ambush, you would be able to kill them. But in the end, 6 of you were killed and then left. Lady Saintess, one of the 3 is too strong. He keeps sending out space blades and can even use law suppression. When we thought we could exhaust them to death, He tore through space and ran away, taking the other two with him. A man stepped forward and said, "Holy Maiden, you can't blame them. I was there at the time. That person should have been a half-step saint or even a quasi-saint. It's just that his true chi hadn't broken through. He's really strong. Even a primary saint wouldn't be able to stop him if he wanted to leave," Shang Luo said. "A half-step or quasi-saint with the spatial attribute is very hard to resist. The next time he appears, notify me immediately. Since he can tear through space, let's see if my spatial imprisonment or his spatial cut is stronger," Jun Xuanji said coldly. The others nodded. No one could stop Yi Wuyo from coming and going as he pleased. "Jia Shen, return to the profound mysteries realm and tell my senior brother to come over," Jun Xuanji said to one of his subordinates. "Xuanji, it's up to you how we fight this war. Because of the saint contract, we saints are just decorations," Xian Wenxiu said. "The only cool thing is W2 and SF, the others are pirated sh*T, we were held back by the territory of the Western Nether Territory. We didn't make full use of our speed and lost the best time to expand our gains. If we had ignored the Western Nether Territory and directly attacked the Sanyuan Territory, this wouldn't have happened," Jun Xuanji said. Hearing Jun Xuanji's words, the others didn't say anything. This was because at that time, many people's opinion was to take things slowly and surely. That was indeed a mistake. In the future, you don't need to ask for everyone's opinion. If you have war plans, just give the order. Those who don't carry it out will be executed, Xian Wenxiu said. Xian Wenxiu knew that Jun Xuanji was very talented and capable. Her weakness was that she was not domineering enough because she was a woman. Last time, because others had suggested to stabilize the Western Nether region first, her lightning tactics were not implemented in the end. Jun Xuanji nodded, but he couldn't help but feel regret in his heart. If the decision he made last time had been carried out, today's situation wouldn't be like this. We can't let this drag on any longer. We were able to occupy the Western Nether region so quickly because the 9 regions world was not prepared for war. We have an absolute advantage in terms of preparation and mentality. If this drags on, it will be troublesome, Jun Xuanji said. At that moment, the leaders of the various forces in the profound mysteries realm nodded. The truth was right in front of them. Next, Jun Xuanji gave some more orders. They were to build a defensive line in the realm's sea outside Eastern Cloud City. In addition, they were to send 3 people to the last remaining teleportation array in the 3 origin region to check on the situation. In the 3 origin region, Shirho, who was meditating in the teleportation array's illusion array, suddenly felt his eyes light up because the profound mysteries realm's people had appeared. Following that, he crushed the communication crystal that Night Sorrow had given him. Night Sorrow was traveling through the spatial turbulence when he sensed the communication crystal shatter. His body flashed out of the spatial turbulence and arrived at the command tent. City Lord Tai Shu, gather all the peak venerables and above and wait outside the last remaining teleportation array. Do not approach without permission, Night Sorrow said. After that, his body flashed and he appeared dozens of feet away. This speed is comparable to a peak venerables. Something must have happened, Lu Qin muttered and went to gather the troops. After 15 minutes, Night Sorrow arrived at the teleportation array and met up with Shirho. Young master, they are very cautious. They only sent 3 people. They are probably trying to figure out the situation. They are also afraid of being ambushed. Our illusion array's effect is very strong. As long as we don't activate it, they won't discover that we have set up a composite array waiting for them. They won't discover us either, Shirho said, clenching his fists. These 3 people are very important. We must keep an eye on them, Night Sorrow said in a low voice. At that moment, Yi Wuyo, Tai Shu, Lu Qin, and the other high-level venerables came to Night Sorrow's side. They are very cautious. We don't know when a large group of people will come, Tai Shu said. That depends on their leader's temperament. If it were me, I would send people to take the teleportation crystal and scatter elsewhere to continue setting up the teleportation array. That way, there's no chance of being ambushed. Of course, they might do that. They are also worried that they will be discovered by our spies if they move randomly, Night Sorrow said. While Night Sorrow was speaking, the three people from the Profound Mysteries realm took the teleportation array back. Very good. Protector Sherho's illusion array is very powerful. They didn't discover anything. A large group of people will probably arrive soon, Night Sorrow said, clenching his fists. Elder Hua, where is the poison I want? Night Sorrow looked at Hua Haining and asked. This storage ring has poison, poison water, and everything else. They are all extremely poisonous and are effective against anyone below the Saint Realm. Hua Haining handed a storage ring to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, aren't we going to kill them directly? Shua Wuhan looked at Night Sorrow and asked. In a war, exhaustion is an important factor that determines victory or defeat. It's best if we don't exhaust ourselves. Once they realize that they are trapped, they will desperately fight to the death. They are all dead. It's not worth it to be dragged down by them, Night Sorrow said. That makes sense. Even if we die in battle, it has to be worth it. Yun Tianlong nodded. Night Sorrow and the others waited. He knew that the first real battle was about to begin. 2 days later, more and more people appeared from the teleportation array. There were 30 of them, and all of them were peak venerables. There were also 3 invincible venerables leading them. Leave 3 people behind to guard the teleportation array, one of the invincible venerables said. He was the sect master of the Profound Mysteries Realm's Profound Heaven Sword sect, Yi Xiantian. He was also the deputy commander of this war. Our mission this time is to set up the teleportation array and set up 3 routes. That way, even if 1 or 2 of them are destroyed, it won't matter. Once we set up the teleportation array, we can fight with all our might. At that time, their defensive line will be useless, and we will definitely win the war, Yi Xiantian said. We'll split into 3 groups, Yi Xiantian ordered. Protector Sure, do it. Night Sorrow nodded at Protector Sure. Protector Sure stood up and crushed the Spirit Explosion formation, destroying the teleportation array around Yi Xiantian and the others. Chapter 826. How ruthless. We've been ambushed. Killing 1 is enough. Killing 2 is a win. Yi Xiantian roared at the people beside him. I knew you'd have such thoughts, but you won't have the chance. What I want is to kill the enemy without suffering any losses. Yi Shan took out the bottle of poison gas that Hua Haining had refined. With a wave of his hand, he threw it into the array, shattering the bottle. This is bone-rotting poison. Because of the formation protecting the space, the bone-rotting poison won't disperse. Hurry up and raise your protective chi shields. Otherwise, you'll die if you touch it, Yi Shan shouted as he smashed a bottle of poison. Despicable. Charge in all directions. Yi Xiantian shouted and gave the order to the people beside him. There's only victory and defeat in a war, regardless of the methods used. Those who dare to attack my 9-domain world will have to pay a painful lesson, replied Night Sorrow. It would have been fine if Yi Xiantian and the others hadn't moved. But once they did, the formation set up by Night Sorrow and entropy took effect. Night Sorrow's ability to set up formations was average, but entropy was powerful. He was an array grandmaster, and the formations he set up were able to communicate with law energy. The illusion formation trapped the Profound Mysteries realm's people within a certain range. Wind blades, flames, water ripples, and all kinds of elemental attacks continuously attacked the trapped experts. Night Sorrow flashed into the formation. He was the one who had set up the formation, so he could enter and exit as he pleased. Holding the reincarnation spear in his right hand and the sky-piercing spear in his left, Knight Sorrow began attacking the trapped experts. Peak Venerables were very strong, but Knight Sorrow's weapon had the void attribute, so it was easy for him to break through their protective chi barriers. Once the protective chi barriers were broken, the Profound Mysteries Realm's people would have to suffer the corrosion of the bone-corroding poison. Being attacked by Knight Sorrow, the Profound Mysteries Realm's people continuously cursed. Yi Shang didn't care at all as he continued to attack. Inside the array formation, he was like a blind man beating a blind man. Within East Cloud City's City Lord's mansion, Yi Xiantian, who was sitting below Jun Xuanji, stood up. It's over. We've fallen into a trap. They've set up a formation outside the transportation formation, and we can't break it. We'll probably be wiped out. Yi Xiantian had sent his spiritual avatar this time, so he could immediately report back. Despicable, cursed Shang Luo. That's how war is. We can't say who's despicable. It's just that we didn't have the ability to scheme against them. They could have destroyed the teleportation array, but they chose to leave us behind, Jun Xuanji said as he tapped on the armrest of his chair. We can't escape. We are doomed to be annihilated, Yi Xiantian said with a sigh after sensing the battle situation. Then let's try to get as much information as we can. Let's see who their leader is. If we know their personality, we won't end up with nothing, Jun Xuanji said. Cowardly scoundrels, you don't even dare to fight us head-on. What kind of ability is that, cursed Yi Xuantian's spiritual avatar? When you invaded the Western Nether region, you also didn't plan on fighting us head-on. Didn't you also launch sneak attacks and blitzkrieg attacks? You also didn't declare war on the 9 regions world, said Knight Sorrow. What a sharp tongue. Do you dare to leave your name behind? Do you dare to leave your name behind? Yi Xiantian went back to his original goal. He wanted to know the name of the commander of the 9 regions world. I know that some of you have cultivated soul clones and want to maximize your benefits before you die in battle. Normally speaking, I shouldn't tell you. Today, I'll be a bit more magnanimous. My name is Knight Sorrow, and I'm the commander of the Profound Mysteries Realm. Do you dare leave your name behind and accept my challenge? Shouted Knight Sorrow after breaking through another Peak Venerable's protective barrier. Holy Maiden, he said his name is Knight Sorrow and asked if we dare to leave our name behind, said Yi Xiantian to Jun Xuanji. Tell him that if he dares to declare war, I won't accept his challenge. Go find me all the information on Knight Sorrow. If you don't have it, go find the other cultivators in the Western Nether region. Jun Xuanji nodded coldly at Yi Xiantian. Then he gave orders to the others. Half a day later, Yi Xuantian's spiritual avatar and 30 Peak Venerables had been killed by Knight Sorrow. Not a single one of them survived. This was a fatal blow to the Profound Mysteries realm. Unless they had the ability to break through space, they wouldn't even have a chance to escape. Cool, hair, of course, even if Knight Sorrow relied on the formation to kill the 30 exalted ones, he wouldn't be able to do it in a short period of time. Later on, Yi Wuyo, Yun Tianlong, Shui Wuheng, and Bei Tiange joined the battle, and the battle ended quickly. After the battle ended, Shang removed the formation. Knight Sorrow had Tai Shu and Lu Qin collect the resources. But the result was just as Knight Sorrow had expected. Other than the necessary weapons and resources, they didn't bring any other resources. This battle was very effective. Lu Qin gave Knight Sorrow a thumbs up. It was strong, but my reputation is bad. Not only does the 9 domains world know that I'm shameless, but the Profound Mysteries realm also knows, said Knight Sorrow. This is a skill. In a battle where both sides are similar in strength, it's a competition of craftiness. Whoever is more scheming will be stronger, said Lu Qin. Let's wait a little longer. It's time for us to counterattack, said Night Sorrow. The others nodded. They had absolute trust and support for Night Sorrow. Whether it was saints or high-level venerables, if they were in his shoes, they wouldn't be able to do what he did. After that, Night Sorrow told the 9 Domains World's cultivators to continue increasing their strength and strengthening the defensive line. He went to the edge of the realm's sea to cultivate spatial cracks. The 9 Domains World was stable, but the Profound Mysteries realm was a bit panicked. The 9 Domains World had crippled the Profound Mysteries realm's 2 super sects, the Profound Mysteries realm's Profound Heaven Sword sect and Wandering Cloud Sword sect. All of their peak venerables had died in battle. This was a great loss. The Profound Mysteries realm had lost more than a third of their strength under the Saint realm. Looking at Night Sorrow's information, Jun Xuanji couldn't understand. Holy Maiden, what are our chances of winning this battle? Asked Xian Wenxiu. We still have a 70% chance. Even if we make a mistake and lose a portion of our strength, the remaining venerables and peak venerables still have the power to crush them, said Jun Xuanji. The 9 Domains World actually used a 20-year-old child as their commander. That's a bit disappointing, said Shang Luo after looking at the information in his hand. That Night Sorrow is famous in the 9 Domains World because he's a cultivation genius. I just didn't expect him to have such a deep understanding of war. Because he's young, he doesn't have any misgivings and isn't bound by rules. He doesn't act according to common sense. He won't be easy to deal with, said Jun Xuanji. There are no tricks in war. Even if we win, we'll suffer great losses. We can't cause trouble among them right now, said Xian Wenxiu. Get ready. I'll take my people and take a flying ship to meet them head-on, said Jun Xuanji. Chapter 827. The Profound Pavilion was the strongest power in the Profound Mysteries realm. It was far stronger than the other powers, which was why it was able to command everyone. The competition within the Profound Pavilion was very intense. If the leader was a woman, she would be the Holy Daughter. If it was a man, he would be the Holy Son. Jun Xuanji was able to stand out among the countless geniuses the Profound Pavilion had nurtured. Not only was she intelligent, but she also had incredible cultivation talent. She had the power to fight new sages while still at the peak of the Profound Mysteries realm. Now that she was a half-sage, she was the strongest person beneath the Saint realm. That's one way. If we can directly crush them and kill their leader, we'll be able to break their momentum, said Xian Wenxiu. Night Sorrow cultivated for 2 days. He felt that his true qi had stabilized, and he entered the space-time pagoda to enter seclusion. He planned to raise his cultivation base to the 7th rank. The 7th rank was different from the 6th rank. One was a mid-rank, while the other was a late rank. There was a huge difference in power. Night Sorrow spent 2 days on the lower 70 floors of the space-time pagoda to raise his true qi to the 7th rank. His Myriad Dao treasure cannon also reached the peak of the 5th rank of the spirit refinement realm. He could enter the 6th floor at any time. Just as Night Sorrow was about to stabilize his cultivation base and break through the Myriad Dao treasure cannon, his messaging crystal shattered once more. Night Sorrow left the space-time pagoda and went to the command tent. He knew what had happened because a flying ship had stopped in the sky above the realm sea. Yes. Since we can't outsmart them, we plan to fight them head-on. How strong are we right now? Asked Night Sorrow. We have about 10 unrivaled sovereigns and 30 peak sovereigns, said the Grand Uncle. Our strength is within their calculations. We have no chance of winning if we fight them head-on. Protector Shang, prepare to activate the formation at any time, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, I've come. Do you dare accept my challenge? Jun Xuanji appeared in front of the flying ship. An unrivaled sovereign, and a quasi-sage at that. She has law energy revolving around her, said Xiaolon Jun. Who are you? asked Night Sorrow as he walked out of the tent. I'm the commander of the Profound Mysteries Realm, Jun Xuanji. Jun Xuanji narrowed her eyes at Night Sorrow. So you're the commander of the Profound Mysteries Realm. Just use whatever techniques you have. I'll take them on, Yishang said. Originally, I thought you were an amazing person. Now, it seems that you're just a so-so, Jun Xuanji said, attacking Yishang. Who would wait for you to cultivate before fighting? Jun Xuanji was silent for a moment. She couldn't refute that. She was still working hard to become a sovereign when she was 21. You're changing the subject. Why aren't you talking about me? I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you. If you have the ability, then attack. If you don't, then just lie there in the realm sea, Night Sorrow retorted bluntly. Does anyone from the 9 regions world dare to fight? Jun Xuanji once again challenged Night Sorrow. At that moment, Yi Wuyo went to Night Sorrow's side and nodded at Night Sorrow. Are you confident? Asked Night Sorrow. She's too arrogant. As your father, I must fight, said Yi Wuyo. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that Yi Wuyo was the strongest subordinate of the 9 regions world saints. That holy maiden Jun Xuanji had also grasped the power of laws and was very powerful. No matter how strong she was, it would be impossible for her to kill Yi Wuyo. Yi Wuyo arrived in front of the 9 regions world's camp. I am Night Moon Dynasty's Yi Wuyo, said Yi Wuyo as he waved the spatial spirit artifact sword that Night Sorrow had given him. If my son can't fight, then I'll fight. The 9 regions world really can, said Jun Xuanji coldly. She had heard Yi Wuyo say that as a father, he must fight, so she had said it. She wanted to weaken Night Sorrow's influence. If my son can't fight, then don't waste your breath. My son has fought countless battles since his debut. He killed mid-stage saints as a beginner saint, and mid-stage saints have never lost against high-stage saints. You actually dare to say that my son can't fight? I'm not even 60 this year. That's not bullying you, said Yi Wuyo angrily. He was angry that Jun Xuanji was unscrupulously attacking Night Sorrow's momentum. Old witch, how old are you? Tell us, shouted Liang Yu. Hearing that Jun Xuanji was attacking Night Sorrow, the god-slaying squad's members had long since been infuriated. Then I'll test the power of a 60-year-old quasi-saint, roared Jun Xuanji as she charged at Yi Wuyo. Yi Wuyo's body flickered, and he also appeared above the realm sea. He swung his sword and began fighting with Jun Xuanji. Jun Xuanji and Yi Wuyo both had law energy protecting them, so they weren't afraid of the realm sea's law attacks. In truth, this is a battle between saints. Both sides' comprehension of laws is at the saint realm, but their true chi is at the peak of the saint realm, said Xiaolan Jun. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He was focused on the battle. Yi Wuyo's speed was extremely fast. As he waved his long sword, his sword chi tore through the air, creating spatial cracks. However, Jun Xuanji's defense was very powerful. All kinds of attribute energy appeared in front of him. Night Sorrow saw that there were 3 attributes, earth, water, and wind. Those 3 attributes intertwined, helping each other block Yi Wuyo's sword chi. This woman's talent is extremely high. Although the 3 attributes haven't fused, they're still able to support each other, said Long Xianxing. Long Xianxing had dabbled in many attributes, and he had a deep understanding of how to use them. He was able to see how powerful Jun Xuanji was. As the 2 of them fought in the air, Yi Wuyo's sword chi was blocked by Jun Xuanji, while Yi Wuyo dodged all of Jun Xuanji's sword chi. Because of his spatial attribute, Yi Wuyo's speed was not something Jun Xuanji could compare to. Just because you're fast, you're invincible. Spatial shackles, roared Jun Xuanji. The 3 attributes in front of her fused together, and she flew toward Yi Wuyo. Not good. The three attributes can use spatial energy to seal space. Long Xuanqing's expression changed. Then let's see how many times you can use that. A crescent moon slashed out from behind Yi Wuyo, and the sealed space was instantly cut open. Yi Wuyo's sword qi once more flew toward Jun Xuanji. Then let's see how many times you can break it. Jun Xuanji's voice was a bit cold. She hadn't expected her spatial shackles to be broken so easily. Next was the battle of rule force. Jun Xuanji didn't continue after using spatial shackles 3 times in a row because she consumed a lot of energy. Her soul force needed to control 3 different types of energy, which consumed a lot more energy than Yi Wuyo, who only used spatial energy. However, it wouldn't be easy for Yi Wuyo's sword qi to break through Jun Xuanji's defensive energy. Chapter 828. Spatial Rend. With a low roar, Yi Wuyo used the complete space rend and directly entered the turbulent space. The first few times he used the space rend, he only used 50% of its power to break through the spatial seal. This time, he used his full power. After entering the turbulent space, Yi Wuyo's spiritual strength spread out, allowing him to sense the situation outside. Behind Jun Xuanji, Yi Wuyo once again tore open space, and the spatial rend extended towards Jun Xuanji's back. Jun Xuanji, who couldn't dodge in time, turned around and slashed out twice with his sword. Then, he used his 3 attribute powers to suppress the spatial rend. At this time, Yi Wuyo charged out of the spatial rend and used spatial blades once more. This was the ability that came after one's spatial energy was saturated, allowing them to use spatial blades without limit. Nethead 7th, sent, spatial rend. In this critical situation, Jun Xuanji used his trump card to shatter the spatial rend, allowing the berserk energy to block Yi Wuyo. Yi Wuyo was pushed back by the violent spatial disintegration, and a trace of red appeared at the corner of his mouth. However, Jun Xuanji was not much better off. His chest was directly pierced through by a spatial blade. "You're very strong. This time, I wasn't prepared. You have the advantage, but it's impossible for you to win," said Jun Xuanji as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. "Then if you can win, come," said Yi Wuyo as he waved his sword. "Just wait. It won't take long to break your spatial rend," said Jun Xuanji as he flew into the airship and directly retreated. Yi Wuyo also returned to the edge of the realm sea. "Father, are you all right?" asked Night Sorrow anxiously. "I'm fine. I was just struck by the spatial rend's energy. I just need to meditate for a bit. However, that woman is truly powerful. I can't break through her crisscrossing energy defenses, so I can't kill her," said Yi Wuyo. "That's a troublesome matter. Her cultivation path is similar to mine. It's an ordinary combination of energy that connects to the power of space, forming the spatial rend of the laws of spacetime," said Long Xianxing. "Yes, her elemental powers amplify each other. She is indeed very difficult to deal with," Yi Wuyo said. "She's using 3 different attributes. Actually, she still has another attribute in her body. It's just that she hasn't used it yet. It's the dark attribute. If she were to fuse 4 different attributes, it would be difficult for you to fight against her. Of course, she still wouldn't be able to kill you," Long Xianxing said. Then, Long Xianxing explained to everyone that the fusion of 3 ordinary attributes would produce a special power. It could suppress ordinary attributes, resist the extreme attributes of ordinary attributes, and resist the suppression of high-level attributes. If it was a fusion of 3 extreme attributes, then it could suppress the extreme attributes of ordinary attributes and be on par with high-level attributes. If he had 4 extreme attributes, then his power would surpass the advanced attributes, but he would not be able to suppress the advanced attributes. Senior, the fusion of 3 extreme attributes is on par with the advanced attributes. But the fusion of 4 extreme attributes is still not enough to suppress the advanced attributes, Night Sorrow said. This is the truth of the heavenly Taos. Only the supreme attribute can suppress the advanced attributes. As for the other ordinary attributes, no matter how skilled you are in your research, it's not impossible to suppress them. Perhaps it's possible to fuse 5, 6, or even all ordinary attributes. But I don't know, said Long Xianxing. This crazy woman's talent is truly tyrannical. Today, she fused 3 extreme attributes, but she still hasn't used her dark attribute. It's probably because it's not an extreme attribute, so it doesn't match with her 3 extreme attributes. Otherwise, her combat power would be even more terrifying, said Xiaolongjun. She needs time. We also need time, said Night Sorrow with narrowed eyes. In truth, what he wanted to say was that he also needed time. Night Sorrow wasn't afraid of Jun Xuanji's powerful attributes at all. That was because he had the supreme attribute, as well as the time and space attributes. What he lacked was time to increase his cultivation base. You don't have to worry too much. Father's spatial laws have reached perfection. I can tear space apart at any time. Even if I can't defeat her, I can still resist her, said Yi Wuyo as he looked at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and continued to cultivate at the edge of the realm sea. His cultivation direction was to stabilize his cultivation base and cultivate the power of the Myriad Dao Tome. In 4 days, Night Sorrow raised the Myriad Dao Tome's cultivation base to the 6th level of the Spirit Refinement Realm. His true Qi also continued to stabilize. Although the 9 realm saints didn't participate in the battle, they were still chatting and estimating the situation. Night Sorrow said that he needs time. Actually, he needs time to improve his cultivation base. He's the only one who can establish the foundation for victory, said Long Xianxing. He's a 7th level saint. It'll take too long for him to reach the invincible saint realm. Moreover, we've seen Jun Xuanji's strength. Yi Wuyo could only suppress him. Even if Night Sorrow has the power of time, it'll be difficult for him to win, said Heavenly Underworld Saint. That's because you're not experienced enough. The 9 realms are united. I'm not afraid of revealing Night Sorrow's secret. He has the supreme attribute. As long as he reaches the peak saint realm, as long as his true Qi can keep up, no one will be able to suppress him, said Long Xianxing. As soon as Long Xuanqing's words fell, all the 9 realm saints were a little stunned. For many people, it was extremely difficult to have high-level attributes. Most of them had reached the saint realm with the peak attributes of ordinary attributes. But now, Night Sorrow had the space and time attributes, 2 high-level attributes. Long Xianxing actually said that Night Sorrow had the supreme attribute. That's right. In the past, I was careful to hide it because I was worried that he would be killed before he grew up. Now that the 9 realms are united, no one will hurt him, so there's no need to hide it, said Wu Lingfei. Then for us, as long as Night Sorrow grows up, we'll definitely win the battle, said Heavenly Underworld Saint excitedly. But if we can't withstand the suppression of the enemy, we can only retreat with our people and wait for Night Sorrow to rise. At that time, the 9 realms will suffer a huge blow, said Long Xianxing. Time. What we need is time, said Xiaolongjun. After that, everyone called Night Sorrow to the tent. How long will it take for you to reach the pinnacle of the Saint Realm? Asked Xiaolongjun. 3 months to half a year, said Night Sorrow after thinking for a while. Your foundation must be stable. Don't ruin it because you're too anxious to increase your strength. Long Xianxing looked at Xiaolongjun with dissatisfaction. He was worried that Xiaolongjun's words would break Night Sorrow's rhythm and destroy his foundation. Xiaolongjun cupped her hands to Long Xianxing embarrassedly. Long Xianxing said to Yi Shang, by the way, for the next 2 days, you should call your father and cultivate with me for a while. The chaotic space that I cultivate is very similar to that of the Holy Maiden. Then, Night Sorrow thanked Senior Long Xianxing on behalf of my father. Night Sorrow cupped his hands to Long Xianxing. After leaving the great sage tent, Night Sorrow told his father that Long Xianxing was willing to guide him. After that, he returned to the tent and sat down to cultivate, stabilizing his cultivation base and cultivating his soul power. At this time, Night Sorrow discovered the changes in his spirit sea. As his cultivation base and soul power increased, the Nihility Heavenly Fate Pearl had a reaction. Chapter 829. The Heavenly Fate Pearl of Void floated in Night Sorrow's spirit sea, which was already very thick with soul power. At the same time, it was emitting streaks of light. The Law of Void. Night Sorrow had an epiphany. The streaks of light were the Law of Void. It was also the key to entering the Saint Realm. After making 2 messaging crystals and giving them to his mother, Night Sorrow informed her and entered the 70th floor of the Time and Space Pagoda. Then, he began to analyze and comprehend the Law of Void. For Night Sorrow, the Heavenly Fate Pearl of Void had such a change at this time. The higher the level of the cultivator, the more difficult it was for them to fight against cultivators with higher realms. Venerables could easily suppress cultivators below the Venerable realm by mastering the unity of heaven and man. Saints and half-step saints could easily eliminate venerables because they had mastered the power of law. The power of law was the manifestation of an elemental law. It belonged to the power of the heavenly Tao. Venerables could not contend against it. In the Venerable realm and Saint realm, if they wanted to fight against cultivators with higher realms, they would have to work hard on their realm. Night Sorrow was not afraid of venerables when he was at the void inquiry stage because he had already attained the unity of heaven and man realm. Now, not to mention fighting against saints, even fighting against half-step saints would require him to have the power of law. Therefore, when he discovered that the Heavenly Fate Pearl of Void had displayed the power of law, Night Sorrow was incomparably excited. It was equivalent to giving him the capital to fight against half-step saints. Yuqing arrived at the command tent and passed one of Night Sorrow's messaging crystals to Senior Grand Uncle. After that, she went to the Saint Realm's main tent and passed another messaging crystal to her husband. He's in seclusion? Wu Lingfei asked. Yes. He was very excited just now. It should be because he has some opportunity to make a breakthrough in some aspect. Yuqing was very proud when she mentioned her son. The pressure on this guy is too great. We can't do anything about it. Young concubine Yu is of the earth attribute. She is of the same origin as me. She can also follow me. Long Xianxing looked at Yuqing and said, "Thank you, Senior." Yuqing cupped her hands towards Long Xianxing. She knew that cultivators who had reached the saint level, especially the high-level saints, would mostly seclude themselves to cultivate. They were not willing to impart their knowledge to others, nor were they willing to accept disciples. This was because they would be tainted with the mortal world and get into trouble, which would delay their own cultivation. It's nothing. Don't worry too much about it. Long Xianxing shook his head. Then, the group of people went about their own business. Entropy was very busy because Tai Shu and Lu Qin had given him a lot of resources to set up formations at the defense line. Everyone had seen the power of the formations he had set up a while ago. It was a Grandmaster-level composite formation that could easily kill or trap a peak Venerable. Entropy, who was only a level 3 Venerable, had found his value. His achievements in the field of array formations could be maximized, so he was willing to do so. Night Sorrow was on the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. While consolidating his true Qi and myriad Dao's treasured tome, he was constantly analyzing and comprehending the law of nothingness. Some of the peak venerables who had obtained saint crystals and source stones felt uneasy because they were not complete laws. It was hard to say whether they could comprehend them or not. However, Night Sorrow was not worried. His Heavenly Fate Jewel was the complete source of a world. It contained perfect laws. As long as he could comprehend it, there would be no problem for him to control the power of perfect laws. When he comprehended the key points, Night Sorrow activated his protective barrier and used his protective true chi to deduce. As Night Sorrow continued to comprehend and deduce, the structure of Night Sorrow's energy shield began to change as well. Strands of energy began to appear on the surface of his energy shield. The energy surged and melted away all the pure energy within the space-time treasure pagoda that approached Night Sorrow. In other words, the rich energy within the space-time treasure pagoda could not get close to Night Sorrow. If it did, it would melt away. After comprehending for 5 days, Night Sorrow woke up. After drinking some wine, Night Sorrow ate the dragon spirit pill and started cultivating with the desolate stone in his hand. At the same time, he continued to comprehend the law of nothingness. Yong 8 Jo, read 2C novels for free. 2 days later, Night Sorrow's myriad Daos treasured tome reached level 6 of God refinement. Then, he naturally stabilized and improved his power of desolates. At the same time, his true chi cultivation was also increasing rapidly. After 20 days in the spacetime pagoda and 10 days in the outside world, Night Sorrow's true chi had reached the peak of level 7 supremacy. The myriad Daos treasured tome had also completely stabilized at level 6 of God refinement. Night Sorrow's biggest gain was that he could control a part of the law of nothingness. In addition, Night Sorrow discovered that when he was comprehending the law of nothingness, his soul power was increasing rapidly. The heavenly fate pearl of nothingness was also constantly absorbing his soul power and sending it out. In other words, it was getting more and more under his control. This was a good sign. Night Sorrow knew that if this continued, it would only be a matter of time before he comprehended the law of nothingness. He was also not far from refining the heavenly fate pearl of nothingness. When they reached the 60th floor of the spacetime pagoda, Night Sorrow communicated with Xueshi. He knew that Xueshi had worked hard to recover and had reached the late stage of level 5 sage. She could return to level 6 sage at any time. Then the two of them cultivated together. While enjoying themselves, Xueshi took away Night Sorrow's essence chi and also helped Night Sorrow's body, the myriad Daos treasured tome, and his true chi nourished. They didn't immediately leave the spacetime pagoda. Night Sorrow communicated with Xueshi. He wanted to test out the law of nothingness he had comprehended and see how strong it was. Night Sorrow asked Xueshi to use an 8th rank supremacy's attack. When Xueshi's sword chi reached the area affected by Yishang's striped chi shield, most of it disappeared into thin air and turned into nothingness. The remaining part of the attack was unable to break through Yishang's chi shield. Is this the supreme law of nothingness? It can ignore 80% of my attacks. Xueshi was a bit dumbfounded. Then try using your law of nothingness to suppress it, said Night Sorrow to Xueshi. Xueshi nodded and used her law of wind and water to suppress Night Sorrow's body and surroundings. However, Night Sorrow's body flashed and he was still able to move freely. The law of nothingness was completely neutralized by the purple light emitted by Night Sorrow's striped barrier. That's too domineering. Xueshi was truly impressed. Night Sorrow didn't have the ability to fight back, but he was like a lone boat in the ocean. He couldn't be overturned. It's still not enough. My speed has been suppressed by half. Without speed, I can still kill however I want. I'll go out for a breath of fresh air and come back to continue comprehending, said Night Sorrow to Xueshi. Just now, when Xueshi's law of nothingness had covered the 60th floor, Night Sorrow's barrier had been able to pass through. However, his speed had been reduced by half. That was something he wasn't willing to accept. In a battle, speed was very important. Without speed, one would be at the mercy of others. After leaving the time pagoda, Night Sorrow walked around. Under the pressure, the members of the god-slaying team had reached the Venerable Realm again. Ho Jian had already broken through to the Venerable Realm. Lei Bao and Shui Ling were also in the stagnation stage. This made Night Sorrow very happy. With the increase in their cultivation bases, their ability to protect themselves would be stronger. Xikong Chuyu and Yang Lei were both at the peak of the 5th grade. The two of them had been stagnating all this while. Because they had the ultimate attribute, the difficulty of their advancement was much harder than Hou Jian, Lei Bao, and the others. The one whose cultivation base improved the fastest was Aoi. Her cultivation base was already high. In addition to the abundant resources she had, she was now at the late 6th level of the Void Inquiry stage. Yi Mei spent some time with Night Sorrow. She was now at the 4th level of the 5th grade. Her speed of improvement was much faster than ordinary cultivators. When they arrived at the command tent, Night Sorrow asked about the recent situation. He discovered that there were no movements at all. The cultivators of the 9 regions world were all trying their best to improve their strength. It's the calm before the storm. That woman is probably researching a stronger spatial confinement technique. Night Sorrow thought for a while and said. Chapter 830. Next, Night Sorrow went to the sage's tent. His parents had been there recently. Night Sorrow, I have something to tell you. I plan to take your mother as my disciple. Do you have any objections? Long Xianqing looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, that's a good thing. Night Sorrow said happily. Senior, are you really going to take me as your disciple? Yu Qing asked happily. You have the same attribute as me. Your comprehension and talent are not bad. You're suitable for me to study. I didn't mention it a few days ago mainly because I wanted to see what your husband and Night Sorrow thought. Long Xianqing smiled. Thank you, Senior. I can only agree. This is a rare opportunity for her. Yi Wuyo said. All right. Call all the saints of the 9 regions here tomorrow. This is the first time I'm taking a disciple. She might be my only disciple. We can't be careless. Long Xianqing smiled. It was hard for cultivators to find a master. Similarly, high-level cultivators were especially concerned about inheritances. If they could find a suitable and talented disciple, they would also place great importance on it. Night Sorrow then went to inform the others that his mother had taken Long Xianqing as her master. This was a big matter. The next day, many people gathered in front of Long Xianqing's tent. Almost all the saints of the 9 regions were present. The cultivation furnaces were also prepared. Long Xianqing lit 3 incense sticks in his hand and bowed to the cultivation furnace. Ancestors, the dragon turtle race has never accepted an outsider as a disciple. But today, I, Long Xianqing, will make an exception. On the path of cultivation, there should be no racial prejudice. Today, I, Long Xianqing, will accept Yu Qing from the human race as my disciple. Next was the apprenticeship ceremony. After the apprenticeship ceremony was over, Long Xianqing brought Yu Qing to the front of the cauldron to burn some incense. After that, the sky changed. A green light appeared and landed on Yu Qing. This caused everyone to be a little stunned, not knowing what was going on. Yu Qing, the Dragon Turtle clan is an ancient clan with countless years of inheritance. Since you have become my disciple, your sincerity has already earned the approval of the Dragon Turtle clan. That was the approval of our ancestors. Long Xianqing said. At this moment, everyone understood that the origin of the Dragon Turtle clan was not simple. This was because they could already communicate with the heavens and earth. This meant that the ancestor of the Dragon Turtle clan was an existence that had obtained the approval of the heavens. All of you, remember this well. She is my disciple. You all understand. Long Xianqing glanced at the others. Following which, Long Xianqing took out a round shield with a diameter of 1.5 feet. Yuqing, you cultivate the saber art. The saber is only meant to kill, and only to slash. Therefore, your defense is slightly weaker. The mystic tortoise shield is my greeting gift for you. Many thanks, master. Yuqing bowed and received the black tortoise shield. I say, Long Xianqing, you're too stingy. Your greeting gift is just a shield, said Sky Underworld Sage. What do you know? That's the mystic tortoise shield with the earth's protective energy. It's just that I haven't refined it yet. It's a holy treasure. If you have the ability, give your disciple a holy treasure and let me see. Long Xianqing glared at Sky Underworld Sage. Sky Underworld Sage curled his lips and didn't say anything. A holy treasure was a huge gift. After that, they held a huge banquet to celebrate. Knight Sorrow was very happy. His father, Yi Wuyo, was strong, and his mother was strong. Now that Long Xianqing was taking care of her, let alone outside the 9 regions world, no one would dare to provoke Yuqing. After the banquet, Knight Sorrow went to the cultivation space by the sea, using a spatial storm to stabilize his cultivation base. Disciple, in terms of talent and hard work, your son is the true genius. Back then, his master accepted him as a disciple because he felt he was a worthy talent. But now, who in the 9 regions world would dare to accept him as a disciple? Asked Long Xianqing, looking at Yishang. Master means that no one can guide him. Yuqing thought about it for a moment and understood what Long Xianqing meant. Time and space attributes. If those 2 attributes can complement each other, then he can rival a sovereign. Other than that, he also has the nihility attribute. As for what the sovereign attribute is, no one knows. That's because in countless years, there hasn't been a sovereign attribute in our 9 regions world. If you say someone can guide him, that's just misleading him. He needs to slowly explore this path himself, said Long Xianqing. It'll be very difficult for him to explore it himself. There's no way around it. Yuqing felt proud, but also heartache. Difficult. He's actually enjoying it. As long as he's willing to work hard, it won't be a problem for him to cultivate. Long Xianqing smiled. After that, Long Xianqing went to teach Yuqing and Yi Wuyo how to cultivate. The way he taught them was completely different. He taught Yuqing how to use the earth attribute to seal space. After that, she could add in the comprehension of other attributes. As for Yi Wuyo, he taught them how to break through space. It was completely one for offense and one for defense. Knight Sorrow cultivated day and night. While consolidating his cultivation base, he also studied how to use the nihility attribute. Currently, Knight Sorrow's ability to survive in the spatial turbulence was extremely strong. With the support of the law of nothingness and the protective barrier of nothingness, he could travel 200 miles in the spatial turbulence. After 10 days of continuous cultivation, Yishang felt that his true energy could break through to the 8th level. Only then did he stop his bitter cultivation. Knight Sorrow went to Long Xianqing's tent and accompanied his parents and Long Xianqing to drink tea. If I'm not wrong, you're going to level up again. After sizing up Knight Sorrow, Long Xianqing said. That's right. There are no problems with the condensation and control of your primary energy cultivation. You can advance. With the support of a deep cultivation base, you'll be able to unleash the power of laws, said Knight Sorrow after taking a sip of tea. You figured out the power of laws. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Long Xianqing asked in surprise. Yes, I've figured it out a little. Knight Sorrow did not hide it. That's great. However, you can't be impatient. You can't give up on the cultivation of your body. What you have now, no matter which one you cultivate, it'll be a great achievement. Long Xianqing said. Junior understands. I won't disturb you. Father, Mother, I'll go into seclusion. If there's anything, crush the communication crystal. Knight Sorrow bowed to Long Xianxing and his parents and left the tent. Following that, Knight Sorrow went to the camp of the god-slaying squad. Seeing Knight Sorrow, Yi Mei pounced on Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow pulled Yi Mei down and knocked on her head. You're a girl, so why don't you pay more attention? 13th brother, your cultivation base is rising too fast. We can't catch up even if we try. Tianyu said. You can't rush it. You guys just have to cultivate steadily. Yi Mei, you too. Don't be impatient. Knight Sorrow reminded everyone and left the camp. After returning to his tent, Knight Sorrow entered the Spacetime Pagoda. This time, he planned to cultivate the myriad Dao Tome with all his might after breaking through to the 8th level. After that, he would comprehend the power of laws of nothingness. As for the cultivation of his bloodline talent, Knight Sorrow could only strengthen the quality of his bloodline and try to break through the 6th bloodline talent. The 6th bloodline talent was too stable. He did not know how long it would take to break through. However, he knew that once he broke through the 6th bloodline talent, he would be able to comprehend the power of laws of space. Chapter 831. In the city lord's manor of East Cloud City, Jun Xuanji went into seclusion after informing Yi Xiantian. This time, she had not been able to defeat Yi Wuyo and had even returned injured. This made her very angry. After analyzing the situation, Jun Xuanji knew that she couldn't defeat or suppress Yi Wuyo with just 3 attributes. She planned to cultivate her 4th attribute, the darkness attribute, to the ultimate attribute and then merge it with the other 3 ultimate attributes. At that time, the power of her spatial shackles would be greatly increased, and she would be able to defeat Yi Wuyo. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio. As for killing Yi Wuyo, Jun Xuanji knew that she couldn't do it. No one under the Saint Realm could kill a quasi-saint like Yi Wuyo who could control the law of space. Xian Wenxiu and Shang Luo didn't say anything. Jun Xuanji wasn't the one who couldn't turn the situation around. It was the Profound Mysteries Realm's disharmony that had delayed the battle. Even the Profound Heaven Sword Sect and the Streamcloud Sword Sect, who had suffered great losses, couldn't say anything. Knight Sorrow spent 2 days on the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to raise his true energy cultivation to the 8th rank. He stood up and stretched his body. After resting for a while, Knight Sorrow took out the blood spirit tortoise crystal, communicated with Little Kong, and began cultivating. Yi Shang stabilized his true Qi cultivation base. While cultivating the myriad Dao's treasured tome, he was also comprehending the power of laws released by the heavenly fate pearl of nihility. When he wanted to deduce the power of laws, Yi Shang told Little Sky to stop pouring energy into him because it would be a waste. After comprehending the power of law, Knight Sorrow's soul strength increased rapidly. In addition, Knight Sorrow felt that he was very close to completely refining the Void Fate Pearl. The reason the Void Fate Pearl released the power of law was because Knight Sorrow's soul strength had reached a certain level. This time, Knight Sorrow didn't easily come out of seclusion. He cultivated bitterly for 2 months. He only stopped when his cultivation of the myriad Dao Tome reached the peak of the 6th rank of the Spirit Refinement Realm. At this time, Knight Sorrow's comprehension of law was very deep. Knight Sorrow then went to the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. Seeing the arrival of Knight Sorrow, Xueshi woke up from her meditation. You seem to be in good shape, Knight Sorrow said as he sat down. You've recovered to the level of a 6-star saint. You're getting closer and closer to your peak. You're doing well too. The blood qi in your body is getting stronger and stronger. Although I can't hear it, I can feel the sound of your blood flowing. A drop of your blood is probably heavier than a top-grade qi refinement metal. Xueshi shared her feelings. I've made some progress. I'll have to trouble you to test it out with me, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Of course, no problem. Tell me how you want to test it. Xuexi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. She was looking forward to Night Sorrow's advancement. The power of laws is completely suppressing me, Night Sorrow said. Xuexi nodded and released her rule force. Following the release of Xuexi's rule force, the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda was filled with the power of fused wind and water. Night Sorrow raised his protective barrier. The barrier was filled with streaks of purple light, and the streaks were filled with threads. Night Sorrow's body began to flicker within the Spacetime Pagoda. After flickering for a while, Night Sorrow stopped. I can maintain 80% of my peak speed. The effect is very strong. I still have to continue comprehending it, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. You're really an idiot. You're using your chi to drive the power of laws. Don't you know how to use your soul strength? When your soul strength fuses with your rule force, it will spread outwards. Isn't that just giving you space to move? Xuexi was speechless at Night Sorrow. I'm really an idiot. I never thought of that. Night Sorrow smiled embarrassedly. How do saints use the power of law to suppress their opponents? Xuexi explained to Yishang. The speed at which saints use their power of law to suppress their opponents isn't that fast. They use their soul power to fuse with the power of law. I understand. Thank you, Night Sorrow said as he reached out to hold Xuexi's arm. Don't work too hard. You have to take care of your body. Such a high-intensity cultivation is a huge burden on your body and soul, Xuexi said to Night Sorrow. I know. Are you bored here? Is there anything you want to do? I can find a place where there's no one and let you out, Night Sorrow said as he cupped Xuexi's face with both hands. No. If there is, I'll tell you. Xuexi buried her head in Night Sorrow's embrace. After a passionate session with Xuexi, the two of them helped each other cultivate for a while. Then, Night Sorrow left the Spacetime Pagoda. After taking a look around, Yishang paid a visit to some of the elders. Night Sorrow had been cultivating in the Spacetime Pagoda for 2 months. Only 1 month had passed in the outside world, so there hadn't been much change. Night Moon's 4 peak venerables had all reached the undefeatable realm, and the 9 realms world's peak venerables had also appeared. Night Sorrow's dragon spirit pill was a huge benefit to those cultivators who lacked resources. When he had nothing to do, Night Sorrow went to the edge of the realm's sea to cultivate his spatial cracks. He used the chaotic flow of the spatial cracks to temper his cultivation base. At the same time, he used Xuexi's advice to cultivate his nihility rule force. In the past, when he used his chi to stimulate the rule force, Night Sorrow's comprehension of the rule force could only affect a radius of 6 meters around him. Now that he used his soul strength, the area he could control was much larger. It could be said that the nihility rule force could cover dozens of meters around him. Night Sorrow could also control a specific area. Night Sorrow didn't use nihility rule force to protect his body. That way, his chi and the myriad Dao Tome's energy wouldn't be consumed, and there would be no point in tempering himself. Time and time again, he exhausted all the energy in his body and then recovered it again and again. Under this kind of tempering, Yishan's cultivation became more and more solid. In addition, Xuexi often helped him nourish his body. After another round of nourishment, Night Sorrow looked at Xuexi and smiled. I haven't spent as much time with my 3 fiancés as you. If you have time, you can talk to them. Of course. My wind origin body's foundation is very stable. I don't need too much of your essence chi to advance from the small perfection to the great perfection. On the other hand, they need it. If you have time, you can bring 6th senior sisterly in. I'll guide her in condensing a peak body, said Xuexi. That's fine, but it'll be later. I have to cultivate my body to the 7th rank of the spirit refinement realm. That way, I'll reach the late stage of the spirit refinement realm. Not only will the myriad Tao Tome's energy be denser, but my body's defensive power will also increase. At that time, if Jun Xuanji comes again, I'll be able to fight him, said Night Sorrow. Xueshi nodded. She knew that with his true qi cultivation at the 8th level of the Exalt realm, coupled with his mastery of the laws of nothingness, and his body's defense, Night Sorrow had the ability to fight against anyone below the Saint realm. After cultivating for 2 more days, Night Sorrow decided to go into seclusion. After saying goodbye to Sikong Chuyu and Yang Lei, he sent Aoi into the Spacetime Pagoda so that she and Xueshi could learn. Then Night Sorrow entered the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. He took out the Blood Spirit Turtle Crystal and began to cultivate. At the same time, he continued to strengthen his bloodline and comprehend the Nihility Rule Force. 2 days later, Night Sorrow's myriad Tao Tome reached the 7th level of the Spirit Refinement Realm. He stretched his body and drank 2 mouthfuls of wine. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow clenched his teeth and made a decision. Chapter 832. Night Sorrow decided not to come out of seclusion and use the myriad Tao Tome's energy to strengthen his body. At the same time, he would eat the Dragon Spirit Pill to raise his cultivation to the peak of 8th level Venerable and continue to comprehend the power of laws. Night Sorrow felt a little anxious, but the situation of the battle was constantly changing. If Yi Wuyo couldn't hold on when Jun Xuanji came again, it would be troublesome. Jun Xuanji could bring a spaceship directly into the 9-domain world and start a war everywhere. After making his decision, Night Sorrow didn't hesitate. After eating the Dragon Spirit Pill, he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. This time, the strengthening of his body was only a small amount, so the pain wasn't too deep. It didn't affect Night Sorrow's comprehension of the power of laws and cultivation of true qi. 3 days later, Night Sorrow finished strengthening his body and started to cultivate the myriad Tao Tome. With Shao Kong's power of time, Night Sorrow's myriad Tao Tome's energy increased in quantity and his elemental energy was also in a state of saturation. Yi Shang did not have to deliberately think about the cultivation of the myriad Tao Tome, nor did he have to worry about the improvement of his bloodline talent. While absorbing the energy of the Dragon Spirit Pill to cultivate his true qi, Yi Shang worked hard to comprehend the power of laws. After using 12 days, Night Sorrow finished strengthening his body and increasing his true qi. In addition, his comprehension of the power of laws and soul power increased greatly. Night Sorrow even felt that it wouldn't be long before he could condense a God Pearl. After stretching his waist, Night Sorrow returned to the 60th floor of the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. At this time, Xueshi was guiding Aoi's cultivation of the ultimate attribute. Night Sorrow, you can't cultivate like this. No matter how you consolidate, you won't be able to eliminate the drawbacks of increasing your cultivation in a short period of time. Seeing that Night Sorrow's cultivation had reached the peak of 8th level Venerable, Xueshi's expression changed. I was a little rash this time, but I will work hard to stabilize my cultivation. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew in his heart that he had gone overboard this time. After exchanging a few words with the 2 women, Night Sorrow returned to the 9 regions world. He didn't go see anyone, but he went to the edge of the realm's sea and tore open space. He practiced the use of the power of laws while tempering his cultivation base. Night Sorrow's compatibility with the space-splitting spear had increased. Although it was not as smooth as the reincarnation spear, its power had reached the level of a middle-grade spiritual weapon. Q permanent 9G free 1C Phi SG small said with the passage of time, Night Sorrow felt that his condition had improved. He no longer felt as weak as he did a few days ago. Night Sorrow felt at ease because even if Jun Xuanji came, he could still fight. This meant that the more time he had, the more confident he would be. After cultivating for 2 days, Night Sorrow returned to the space-time treasure pagoda once and cultivated with the two women. He gave his essence to Aoi, but Xueshi helped Night Sorrow condense his cultivation. After cultivating, Night Sorrow let Xueshi test the strength of his body again. Without wearing a shirt, Night Sorrow stood in front of Xueshi and let her attack. Xueshi used her 7th level sovereign cultivation but didn't pierce Night Sorrow's body. She only pushed Night Sorrow back a bit. "Increase your cultivation," Night Sorrow said. Xueshi then used her cultivation as a level 8 venerable, and the flowing wind sword's power reached the level of a high-grade spiritual weapon. Only then did she manage to leave a 2-inch deep wound on Yishang's chest when he was knocked back. "If your cultivation surpasses mine, you can break my body's defense. However, I haven't infused my energy yet." "Let's try again," Night Sorrow said as he glanced at the wound that was beginning to heal. "Okay." Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow nodded and infused the myriad Dao treasure's energy into his body. Xueshi attacked again, but she only pushed Night Sorrow back and left a white mark on Night Sorrow's body. She didn't break through Night Sorrow's body's defense. After standing firm, Night Sorrow exhaled, "Not bad. There's no need to try again. Even if she's a 9th level sovereign, her attack will only injure me slightly. It won't be a big problem." After wiping his wound that had already healed, Night Sorrow put on his robe. "If your soul power and law power can keep up, you can fight anyone below the saint stage," Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow and said. "If I have enough time, I can also condense my soul power into a god bead," Night Sorrow said. "You're not far from condensing a soul bead." Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. "At my current speed, I'll definitely be able to condense a god bead in 2 months, Night Sorrow said. "Don't rush around recklessly. Do it steadily." Xueshi was a bit worried about Night Sorrow. The main reason was that Night Sorrow's cultivation was rising too quickly. After drinking a pot of tea with the two women, Night Sorrow returned to the 9 regions world. After that, Night Sorrow went to visit Long Xianxing, his parents, Xia Lanjun, Wu Lingfei, and the others. When they saw Night Sorrow's cultivation, they were shocked because Night Sorrow's cultivation had already reached the peak of the 8th level sovereign realm. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow went to the edge of the realm sea, intending to continue consolidating his cultivation. However, Yi Wuyo followed him. "Night Sorrow, don't worry too much. That woman is strong, but I can still handle her. After all, she only has an ordinary attribute. Even if she has an extreme attribute, she still can't suppress my high attribute." Yi Wuyo didn't want Night Sorrow to feel too much pressure. "Father, don't worry. If she comes again, I'll fight her," Night Sorrow said. "Your cultivation base is still a bit low. Furthermore, you've only just begun to comprehend law power. You won't be able to fight her. The difference between a sovereign and a half-saint is a watershed," said Yi Wuyo. "Father, I'm cultivating a spatial crack. I'll use chaotic space to consolidate my cultivation base. You can also come and watch." In order to reassure Yi Wuyo, Night Sorrow directly invited him. "All right." Yi Wuyo smiled. Night Sorrow then took off his robes, leaving only his combat pants on. While Yi Wuyo was still in a daze, he tore through space and entered the chaotic space. After entering the chaotic space, Night Sorrow used a protective barrier to protect his lower body, allowing the chaotic space to bombard his upper body. Night Sorrow stood there, enduring the chaotic space's attacks. The chaotic space's energy couldn't even cut through his hair. After standing there for a while, Night Sorrow activated his protective barrier. At the same time, he unleashed his law power and charged forward. The law of nothingness was a supreme attribute law. Even the destructive energy within the chaotic space could only resist it. On the other hand, all other attributes were suppressed and melted away. This allowed Night Sorrow to maintain his speed. A moment later, he was 150 miles away. He tore through space and appeared in the Nine Realms world. Night Sorrow looked at his father. "Father, how do you feel?" "That's supreme law power." Yi Wuyo looked at his son in surprise. "Yes, so no matter how stable I am, I'll have no problem fighting against Jun Xuanji." "Don't worry, father. Any attack below the 9th level of the Exalted Realm won't even be able to break through my defense. Even if her attack contains the power of laws, it'll be weakened by my protective barrier and won't be able to injure me," said Yishan. "Very good. Let's not talk about anything else. Just this spatial tear of yours will allow you to travel long distances. No one below a saint will be able to kill you. Don't worry. Next time she comes, you'll deal with her." Yi Wuyo was very confident in his son. Chapter 833. Yi Wuyo's confidence wasn't blind. He wouldn't joke about his son's safety. Just now, his spatial laws had been suppressed in the chaotic streams of space. That made him understand that no matter how fierce Jun Xuanji was, he wouldn't be able to overcome the suppression of a sovereign's attribute. With this trump card, Night Sorrow was undefeatable. New /d nethead XAFA. Furthermore, Night Sorrow's spatial rend allowed him to survive in the chaotic streams of space. No one below the Saint Realm could kill him. What shocked Yi Wuyo the most was Night Sorrow's physical strength. Night Sorrow had endured the chaotic streams of space without using a protective barrier. That chaotic spatial storm, which had the power of a 7th or 8th rank venerable, hadn't injured Night Sorrow in the slightest. The two of them went to the edge of the realm's sea and began drinking a jug of wine. A moment later, Yu Qing came over. "You two really are something. Why didn't you get something to go with the wine?" "Fortunately, I still have some meat. I don't have any more regrets. With a son like this and a wife like this, what more could a husband ask for?" Yi Wuyo smiled and drank a large mouthful. "Yes. Even if there's danger, even if there's war, our family is still happy together," said Yu Qing. "When I was young, I saw other children with parents. I always thought about what kind of people my parents were. Over the years, I've always pictured them in my heart. But no matter how I pictured them, they were all fake. Only when I saw my parents did I feel at ease," said Night Sorrow. "It's all because your father wasn't strong enough to protect you back then," said Yi Wuyo apologetically. "Father, don't say that. In truth, this is fate. She also gave me a different life. The past 20 years might have been hard, but it was very fulfilling. I got to know many people I shouldn't have known in my life. Old Man Gu, my master, my senior apprentice brothers, and my 3 fiancés. This is also very good. It's just that I wasn't able to fulfill my filial duties in front of my parents. But I think there's still a long way to go." "It's not too late," said Night Sorrow. "Yes, it's not too late. In the future, our Yi clan will dominate the world," Yi Wuyo said with a smile. After drinking, Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing left. They also needed to cultivate. Night Sorrow continued to cultivate. He had no intention of increasing his cultivation level. He wanted to stabilize his cultivation level and continue to comprehend the power of laws to strengthen his soul power. During this period of time, Night Sorrow understood that the power of the soul was the foundation to use the power of the law. With no one to disturb him, Night Sorrow stayed at the edge of the realm sea, stabilizing his cultivation base in the spatial rifts. In the blink of an eye, half a month went by. Night Sorrow emerged from the spatial crack once more. Stretching his waist, he said, "Now, my foundation has finally stabilized. However, my comprehension of the power of laws has improved greatly during this period. My soul power has also improved considerably. Yishang did not deliberately seek to improve his cultivation. Whether it was his genuine qi or the cultivation of the myriad Tao treasured tome, they could be improved naturally. What he valued now was the improvement of his soul power and the control of the power of rules. Those were the foundation of everything. After resting for a while, Night Sorrow once more began to cultivate. He felt that cultivating the power of laws was the fastest way to improve his soul power. As Night Sorrow worked hard on his cultivation, the people of the Nine Realms world were also rapidly increasing their strength. In the western nether region's East Cloud City, Jun Xuanji came out of seclusion. "Holy daughter, how's your advancement?" asked Xian Wenxiu. "I've already comprehended the ultimate darkness attribute. Now, I need to fuse it with the other 3 ultimate attributes. That'll take some time. Yi Wuyo has the spatial attribute, so he shouldn't have any room for improvement. In the next battle, I'll be able to suppress him. Once I suppress him, the rest of us will be able to crush him and secure our victory," said Jun Xuanji. "There are many variables in this battle. We've lost the initiative, so we can only advance steadily," said Xian Wenxiu. "Yes. You don't need to feel too burdened. At the very least, we've occupied the western nether region. If we can't suppress them, then we'll just conquer the western nether region first. We're in a passive position right now because we didn't listen to your suggestion back then," said Shang Luo. Time slowly passed. Night Sorrow's control over the power of laws grew deeper and deeper. His soul power also rapidly increased. He was getting closer and closer to condensing a divine bead. On this day, just as Night Sorrow had recovered and was about to tear open space to cultivate, the Profound Mysteries Realm spatial ship appeared once more. Following the appearance of the ship, the Nine Realms world's people instantly gathered. Even the saints came to watch. "Yi Wuyo, come out. Let's fight again." Jun Xuanji appeared in front of the spatial ship. "Do you think it's enough now?" Yi Wuyo took a few steps forward. "I might not be able to kill you, but I can beat you until you flee. At that time, I'll see who can block my path. I'll kill whoever dares to stop me. I, Jun Xuanji, will definitely conquer the Nine Realms world." Jun Xuanji waved her sleeves and roared. This time, she had cultivated 4 elements into one. She was determined to suppress Yi Wuyo. Then she would lead her people to crush him. Shameless boasting. "Today, I, Night Sorrow, will fight you." Night Sorrow raised his reincarnation spear and walked to the front of the Nine Realms world's people. Seeing Night Sorrow arrive, all the sovereigns cupped their hands in greeting. "Do you think you're qualified?" Jun Xuanji's eyes were filled with disdain. "Who do you think you are to talk about qualifications with me? If you think I'm not qualified, then I'll kill my way into your camp tomorrow. At that time, you won't be able to fight me just because you want to," said Night Sorrow as he waved his reincarnation spear. "Ha, good courage. Then I'll give you a chance to fight. Although defeating you won't give me any sense of accomplishment, you're still one of the Nine Realms world's commanders. It'll be meaningful," said Jun Xuanji. "There are a few types of people I hate. One of them is people like you who think you're infallible. People who boast shamelessly the moment they open their mouths are very annoying. I especially hate that self-righteous mouth of yours," said Yishan. "You must die today." Jun Xuanji swung his sword and charged at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's body trembled, and he drew an arc in the air as he charged into the Realm Sea. "Nonsense, the Realm Sea's law energy is attacking." The Flying Tiger Saint was worried and wanted to stop him. However, he was stopped by Long Xiansheng. "What are you so excited about? The Nine Realms world's commanders are fools." At this moment, Night Sorrow and Jun Xuanji charged over and began fighting. Night Sorrow's body contained immense power, and even though his cultivation base was not as high as Jun Xuanji's, he wasn't at a disadvantage. Instead, He was forcing Jun Xuanji back. Your body is very strong, but it's useless. You don't understand the difference between us. Law suppression. After mocking Night Sorrow, Jun Xuanji unleashed her law energy to suppress Night Sorrow. She planned to use her realm to suppress him and then kill him. She had been infuriated by Night Sorrow's smelly mouth, and now she just wanted to kill Night Sorrow to vent her anger. Chapter 834. At this time, purple streaks of light appeared on Night Sorrow's body and blocked Jun Xuanji's attack. After blocking Jun Xuanji's law suppression, Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and used the 7-star Brilliant Moon Spear to suppress Jun Xuanji. Night Sorrow's spear attack, excluding the strength of his true chi, also had the strength of over 100,000 kilograms. It wasn't something Jun Xuanji could block. While Jun Xuanji was wondering why his law power couldn't suppress Night Sorrow, he was already pushed back by Night Sorrow. He had to rely on his agility to stabilize himself. However, Jun Xuanji found that he still couldn't do it. That was because Night Sorrow's protective barrier was extremely strong against space, and his speed and agility were high. His speed wasn't as fast as Night Sorrow's, so he was constantly attacked. After being continuously attacked by Night Sorrow, Jun Xuanji's chi and blood were shaken. He was already unable to stabilize himself. Night Sorrow was fast and powerful. The power of each of his spear attacks was something he couldn't bear. Do you see that? This is the effect of being fast and powerful. Jun Xuanji can only passively take a beating, said Long Xianxing. After being continuously attacked by Night Sorrow, Jun Xuanji felt that he couldn't handle it anymore. His body swayed, and 3 kinds of spatial shackles pressed down on Night Sorrow. Spatial shackles. Break for me. Night Sorrow roared, and the purple ripples on his body violently shook in all directions. Jun Xuanji's spatial shackles were directly broken. After breaking the spatial shackles, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear once again stabbed toward Jun Xuanji. Jun Xuanji retreated while using spatial shackles to control Night Sorrow's attack speed. But it was completely useless. The purple streaks on Night Sorrow's body directly shattered his spatial shackles. He didn't seem to be struggling at all. You think I'm not qualified? Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear violently attacked, and he continued to suppress Jun Xuanji. Then I'll give you the 4 extremes combined attack that I prepared for your father. At this moment, Jun Xuanji revealed his trump card, the 4 extremes combined kill, a consummate skill that he had just developed. Then, 4 types of rule force visible to the naked eye pressed down on Night Sorrow. Break for me. Night Sorrow roared. The purple halo around his body rippled in all directions, rushing towards the confinement of the 4 elemental laws. Jun Xuanji's 4 extremes combined attack was very strong. However, it only managed to resist Night Sorrow's rule force for a moment before it was dispersed. At that moment, Jun Xuanji's face became unsightly. She did not know what was going on. She knew that something had gone wrong when the 4 extremes attack was broken in an instant. After using the quadrupole combined kill 3 times in a row and controlling Night Sorrow's speed, Jun Xuanji's body flashed and entered the spaceship. Then, the spaceship quickly left. By the time Night Sorrow broke through the 4 extremes combined attack, the spaceship had already left. Moreover, the spaceship's defense was extremely strong. It was not something that could be broken through in a short moment. Night Sorrow did not chase after it. After a few flashes, he returned to the shore of the Realm Sea. He put the reincarnation spear back into the holster on his back and hung the ice silk bag that contained the Phantom Dao Stone clone on his waist. Before every real battle, Night Sorrow would put away his soul clone to prevent it from being contaminated by other people's auras. Night Sorrow, you win. Wu Lingfei came to Night Sorrow's side. But I still can't take her down, Night Sorrow said as he looked in the direction the spaceship had left. Your cultivation is not as high as hers, and your rule force is not as smooth as hers. It's already not easy to defeat her. You should be satisfied, said Wu Lingfei as she patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. Son, you lost to a quasi-sage. Yu Qing also came to Night Sorrow's side. She's a quasi-sage, so she doesn't have much room to grow. But you're different. You have a lot of room to grow. Next time we meet, she won't be a match for you, said Long Xianxing. I still need time, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was clear about his own situation. He did have a lot of room to grow, but time was of the essence. He didn't know what other methods his opponent had. We don't lack time. As long as they can't break in, time is not a problem. Their commander has been defeated, and their morale will drop, said Sky Underworld Saint. Next, we need to prepare for our counterattack. We need to confirm where the spatial channel between the 9 regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm is, said Night Sorrow. Then let me go investigate, said Yi Wuyo. No. Jun Xuanji's 4 Extremes attack was designed for you. You can't go, said Night Sorrow. He couldn't let his father take the risk. But we need to know where the spatial channel is. Only then will we have a chance to counterattack, said Yi Wuyo. Look at KYV Chapter C section #Q8VNetL, I'll take care of this. Everyone else, don't go to the Western Nether Realm. They definitely have backup plans. Be careful, said Night Sorrow. Yi Wuyo wanted to say something, but after looking around, he didn't say anything. Night Sorrow was the commander of the 9 regions world, so this should be in order. He had to carry it out. After that, Night Sorrow tore open a spatial rift and began cultivating. Seeing Night Sorrow cultivate, the others also went to make arrangements. There were still many things to do. After returning to the flying ship, Jun Xuanji looked confused. She didn't understand what had happened today. That young man's elemental power is suppressing you, so all your skills are useless. But what's up with his elemental power? I don't understand, Xian Wenqiu said from inside the ship. He's still very inexperienced. I'll think about it when I get back. Jun Xuanji still didn't understand. It wasn't that Xian Wenqiu and Jun Xuanji were stupid. It was just that no one had ever thought of a supreme attribute. Since ancient times, there had never been a supreme attribute. Wait for your senior apprentice brother to come. No matter how strong he is, it'll be useless. In front of the Tao of Slaughter, he's not enough, said Xian Wenqiu. Jun Xuanji nodded. She knew her senior apprentice brother's situation. Her senior apprentice brother didn't have any great talent. He only had one strong point, and that was his combat power. He lived for slaughter, and he even had the power to withdraw from the Saint realm. A fellow who was only a 4th rank saint a few months ago is now a peak 8th rank saint. I really don't understand. Jun Xuanji still didn't understand. Every world has someone with great fortune. Or maybe he's the one with the fortune of the 9 regions world. If we can fight him, we'll win, said Xian Wenqiu. Wait for my senior apprentice brother to come, then we'll fight again. I don't believe that we can't kill him. Jun Xuanji clenched her fists. It was clear that she wasn't calm at all. Night Sorrow continued to consolidate his cultivation in the spatial turbulence. He was comprehending the law of nothingness. He knew that the battle would come soon. The next battle would be even more difficult to deal with. Night Sorrow felt that only by condensing the God Orb could he have the power to control the 9 regions world. Chapter 835. Yi Shang cultivated very hard, and this moved the saints and high-level venerables of the 9 regions. Everyone knew that Yi Shang was going all out for the sake of the 9 regions. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing were heartbroken. Staying in Long Xuanqing's tent, they were not in the mood to cultivate worry, heartache. Not to mention you as his parents, even I feel heartache. This is his path, the path of defying the heavens. Isn't this also a tempering of his temperament, soul, and humanity? This time, he has stood firm, and he won't fall again in the future. Long Xuanqing said. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing looked at each other. They understood what Long Xuanqing meant, and they also knew that this was Night Sorrow's path. Every time he was tired, Night Sorrow would enter the spatial pagoda to recover and drink a cup of tea made by Aoi. Seeing Night Sorrow enter the spatial pagoda again, Aoi pulled Night Sorrow to sit down. You have matured. Come, senior sister will help you clean up. Aoi pulled Night Sorrow to clean up, and then helped Night Sorrow to clean his beard. This was the first time Night Sorrow cleaned his beard. You can't work so hard. Xueshi said with heartache. Time is important, but I feel that I can make it. My chi can enter the 9th level of supremacy at any time, and my comprehension of the power of laws is also good. Night Sorrow said. Aoi and Xueshi did not let Night Sorrow continue cultivating. Instead, they let Night Sorrow take a bath and rest on Xueshi's big body. 8K first 3 shots asterisk after resting for half a day, Night Sorrow felt refreshed when he woke up. He was really tired during this period of time. On this day, Night Sorrow did not go out. Instead, he sorted out his gains on the 60th floor of the spatial pagoda. He planned to break through to the 9th level of supremacy, and slowly cultivate the myriad Dao treasured tome. Night Sorrow had also finished nourishing the space splitter spear. However, his soul clone was still far from completion. After all, this was the second time he condensed it, and the time was much shorter. Night Sorrow, with Sister Xueshi's help, I have completely comprehended the extreme attribute. Next, I can cultivate the extreme body. Aoi said with a smile. And, you have to thank Sister Xueshi for this. Night Sorrow was also very happy when he heard that Aoi had succeeded in her cultivation. After that, Yishang exited the space-time pagoda and went to Sikong Chuyu's tent. He took Xueshi and Qing Ji, who had used the breath-concealing technique, out. Then he called for Yang Lei and had Tian Yu catch some beasts. After a round of drinking, Yishan felt completely relaxed. Take it slow. There's no need to rush. Jun Xuanji is the top below the saint stage. Since you can defeat him, then there's no problem for you to fight below the saint stage. It's necessary to improve your cultivation, but there's no need to rush. Xueshi said. Night Sorrow nodded. And, that's true. I don't believe that anyone below the saint stage can kill me. I'll break through to the 9th level of supremacy later. After hearing Xueshi's words, Night Sorrow knew that he was a little impatient and emotionally unstable. After resting for a day, Night Sorrow put Xueshi and Aoi into the 60th floor of the spatial pagoda. He entered the 70th floor of the spatial pagoda and began his closed-door cultivation. He wanted to break through to the next level. It's a good situation. His mood has stabilized. There's no problem. Xueshi said with a smile. He's been under a lot of pressure recently. It's really been hard on him. Aoi also felt very sorry for Night Sorrow. After 2 days, Yishang successfully raised his true energy cultivation to the level of a 9th level venerable. Night Sorrow reached the 60th floor of the spatial pagoda. Xueshi pulled Aoi and pushed Night Sorrow onto the big bed. The three of them cultivated together for a while. After Aoi took Night Sorrow's yang qi to cultivate, Xueshi helped Night Sorrow nourish his body and the energy and true qi of the myriad Tao Tome. After cultivating, Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow with a strange gaze. She could feel the tyrannical strength of Night Sorrow's body. The strength of the energy in his body shocked her. She couldn't imagine how Night Sorrow cultivated to this level. She also understood that Night Sorrow's body wasn't at its limit. It was still improving, but the space for improvement was immeasurable. Night Sorrow, you've cultivated to the 9th level of supremacy. You can't take pills anymore. At this time, you need to stabilize your cultivation. The more stable it is, the better. Although there's a war, you still need to build a foundation for entering the Saint Realm. She said. In her world, Night Sorrow was the most important. As for the 9 regions world, she had to put it aside. I understand. The 9th level of supremacy is enough. I just need to stabilize it slowly. My main goal now is to improve my rule power and soul power. Night Sorrow said. She nodded. She knew that Night Sorrow's way of thinking was correct. Slowly increasing his cultivation was enough. Soul power and rule power were the key to entering the Saint Realm. After leaving the Spacetime Pagoda, Night Sorrow met up with his parents. After drinking tea, he went to the border of the Realm's Sea with Wu Lingfei. Night Sorrow, I can't help you with anything right now, but you can't rush it. The situation is very good. The Profound Mysteries Realm's commander has been defeated. This is a big blow to them. Unless they have a way to deal with you, they can only stay in the Western Nether region, said Wu Lingfei. So the Profound Mysteries Realm will definitely think of a way to deal with this. Since they've decided to attack our 9 regions world, they'll definitely have a lot of hidden cards. This time, I was a bit anxious, said Night Sorrow. You mean to say that we shouldn't defeat her? We should stabilize her first. Wu Lingfei understood what Night Sorrow meant. Yes. That way, we can buy a bit more time. However, in our 9 regions world, there won't be any more invincible venerables and peak venerables for the time being. The problem is that I still have some room for improvement, said Night Sorrow. There's still time, said Wu Lingfei with a smile. She had seen Night Sorrow's strength and knew that in a battle below the Saint Realm, Night Sorrow would be safe. As long as he didn't fall into a trap, there wouldn't be any problems. Night Sorrow nodded. Seeing Wu Lingfei's smile, he felt much more at ease. After parting with Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow went to the God-slaying squad's camp and watched them cultivate. After looking around, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. He knew that Jun Xuanji definitely had a backup plan. Only by withstanding this wave of backup could the war enter a period of stability. After calming himself down, Night Sorrow entered the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. Then he began to comprehend law energy and cultivate his spiritual strength. At this time, in the Western Nether region's Eastern Cloud City Lord's mansion, 2 people were welcomed. One was the Profound Pavilion's Jia Xin, while the other was wearing blood-red robes. His hair was also blood-red, and it covered his entire face. This person was the Profound Pavilion's most talented person, Ren Tianji. He originally had a chance to become a holy son, but in order to pursue the highest level of power, he had walked the Tao of slaughter. As a result, he had only comprehended the intent of slaughter. He hadn't comprehended law energy. It was his intent of slaughter that had prevented him from comprehending law energy. Even so, he still had the power to fight and retreat saints. Chapter 836. Junior Apprentice Sister, I'm here. Ren Tianji found a seat and sat down. Senior Apprentice Brother, you're here. Jun Xuanji nodded to Ren Tianji. You must have run into some trouble. What do you need me to do? Once I'm done, I'll return to cultivate, said Ren Tianji. Ren Tianji saw Xian Wenqiu and Shang Luo, but he ignored them. He only greeted Jun Xuanji. I lost. If I wasn't a saint, I wouldn't have had a chance of defeating him. Furthermore, my Profound Mysteries realm has signed a saint contract with the 9 regions world. Saints are not allowed to fight, so I can only trouble senior apprentice brother to fight, said Jun Xuanji. You can fight however you want. I don't have much time. I owe junior apprentice sister a favor, so I'll fight for her. Of course, you should know that when I fight, it's either killing or being killed. It's a matter of life and death, said Rintianji. Jun Xuanji nodded. She knew that this was Rintianji, who had never been defeated since his debut. What he cultivated was the way of slaughter. Originally, Jun Xuanji had asked Rintianji to come over as a backup plan to kill Yi Wuyo. Later, she felt that she could defeat Yi Wuyo after cultivating the 4 extreme combined attack, and Rintianji wouldn't have to do anything. However, an even more terrifying Yi Saro had appeared in the 9-domain world. She couldn't even defeat him, let alone kill him. Then senior apprentice brother should rest. I'll invite senior apprentice brother over, said Jun Xuanji. Then someone brought Rintianji to rest. How could a genius of his generation end up like this, sighed Shang Luo. This is his tribulation. If he can endure it, his future will be limitless. It's just that he chose the wrong path. He originally had a chance to walk the right path, sighed Xian Wenxiu. Grand Elder, what do you mean? Does my senior apprentice brother still have a chance? Asked Jun Xuanji. Because he has grasped the will of slaughter, the will of slaughter repels his comprehension of the power of law. If he first grasps the power of law and then cultivates the will of slaughter, there won't be such a drawback. If he can perfectly grasp the will of slaughter, then there will be an opportunity, Xian Wenxiu said. Xian Wenxiu's heart ached for Rintianji. He had repeatedly tried to persuade Rintianji to give up on cultivating the slaughter intent. In the end, they had a huge argument, and Rintianji had even given up on all the benefits he would receive in the profound pavilion. That was why Rintianji had entered the city lord's mansion and ignored Xian Wenxiu. Let's look forward to that day. Senior brother is the true genius, Jun Xuanji said. Jun Xuanji sighed. He couldn't tell what he was feeling. She had instigated Rintianji to cultivate the slaughter will. Competition was because of competition. Without Rintianji's competition, she could smoothly rise to the top. This was scheming and scheming. Now that she had great power in her hands, she hoped that Rintianji could live a better life. 2 days later, Jun Xuanji, Xian Wenxiu, and Shang Luo brought Rintianji and some unrivaled venerables of the profound mysteries realm to the sky above the domain sea of the 3 origin domain. Seeing the other party invade, the Grand Elder crushed Knight Soro's messaging crystal. New chapter UJ section UJ Woi Net Knight Soro, who was stabilizing his cultivation base and cultivating the power of law, woke up from his meditative state. He came out of the space-time pagoda and appeared in front of the tent in a flash. Knight Soro, be careful. They already know how strong you are in the last battle. This time, they came to challenge you. That means they're prepared, Wu Lingfei reminded Knight Soro. I know. What will come will come. I've never underestimated them, Knight Soro said. Why don't you let father test the waters first? Yi Wuyo said. No, I have the ability to protect myself. It won't be easy for anyone to kill me. Father, mother, don't worry, Knight Soro said and went to the edge of the domain sea. The profound mysteries realm's airship stopped above the domain sea and didn't enter the 3 origin domain. There were saints on the airship. The 3 origin domain hadn't been conquered by the profound mysteries realm yet. If the airship came over, the world's origin laws would determine that it was an invasion by saints. After the airship opened, 2 figures appeared. One was Jun Xuanji, who was wearing a moon-white dress. The other was Rintianji, who was wearing a blood-red robe and had blood-red hair that covered his face. Rintianji carried a 2-meter-long saber on his back. Even the hilt was blood-red. What? You're not willing to accept your loss last time and brought reinforcements this time. How do you plan to fight? Night Sorrow asked as he waved his reincarnation spear. I don't think we'll lose. At most, we'll be evenly matched. This is my senior apprentice brother, the evil monarch of slaughter, Rentinji. You'll be the first person to die to his saber, Jun Xuanji said to Night Sorrow. Last time, I already said that I hate your stinky mouth. Don't tell me you didn't remember. Yi Shuang coldly replied. He was disgusted by Jun Xuanji's words, which didn't have any persuasive power. Is it him? Rentinji looked at Jun Xuanji. Yes, it's him, Jun Xuanji said through gritted teeth. She wanted nothing more than for Night Sorrow to immediately die. Jun Xuanji had pursued the path of power. For power, she had done very well. She was already a quasi-saint. For power, she had become the holy maiden of the Profound Pavilion. In the Profound Pavilion, her words were orders. In the Profound Pavilion, a single word from her could decide a person's life or death. However, after entering the Nine Regions world, she had been defeated by Night Sorrow. She had cursed him twice but had been unable to say anything. That made her furious. She wanted nothing more than to see Night Sorrow immediately die. I, Rentinji, don't want to say anything. I owe my junior apprentice sister a favor, so I'm helping her. Today, we'll fight to the death, said Rentinji. Alright, then let's leave life or death to fate. Night Sorrow took off the ice silk pouch at his waist and tossed it into the spacetime pagoda. Wait, are you going to fight one-on-one, or do you want to play World War I? Shouted the ruler of the Yun dynasty, Yun Tianlong. He didn't want Night Sorrow to be ambushed by Jun Xuanji and Rentinji. When I, Rentinji, fight, apart from myself, everyone else is my enemy. Even if the people around me participate in the battle, I will still disregard them. Junior sister, please don't interfere, Rentinji said to Jun Xuanji. Jun Xuanji nodded. Her body flickered, and she floated to the center of the spatial ship. Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear in the air above the realm sea. Yi Shang, he's very special. He doesn't have the power of law on him, but he's surrounded by killing intent. He's walking the unorthodox path. You have to be careful. Xue Shi, who had discovered the situation through Yi Shang's soul power, also warned Yi Shang. At this time, Yi Shang also knew that Rentinji was not ordinary. Xue Shi's words were also very clear. Rentinji cultivated an unorthodox sect, a strange sect. Such people were the most difficult to deal with because they did not understand them. I, the slaughter evil monarch, Rentinji, don't kill nameless people. Leave your name, said Rentinji as he took out the blood-red saber on his back and looked at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, titled Immortal, replied Night Sorrow after releasing the myriad Dao Tome's energy to protect himself. Chapter 837. Titled Immortal, this is interesting, Rentinji muttered. He waved the blood-red saber in his hand and charged toward Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow dashed forward and performed the 7-star brilliant moon spear technique with his reincarnation spear, thrusting it toward Rentinji's saber. Ding! With a crisp sound, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear and Rentinji's blood-red saber collided. The two of them were separated by a distance. Night Sorrow retreated more than 12 meters, while Rentinji retreated slightly further. Night Sorrow's cultivation base was not as profound as Rentinji's, but his body was strong enough. At this time, the energy of the myriad Dao Tome was also circulating in his body. With the support of the energy of the myriad Dao Tome, Night Sorrow's strength was stronger, so Rentinji was at a disadvantage. Rentinji, who was repelled by Night Sorrow's spear, charged forward again. He waved his saber and slashed at Night Sorrow. The blood-red saber aura was very terrifying. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear danced and displayed his spear technique. He fought head-on with Rintinji. Night Sorrow was not afraid of anyone in a head-on battle, even if Rintinji's cultivation base was at the peak of the Venerable Realm. The two of them fought in the sky above the realm sea, causing energy fluctuations to surge in all directions. After a while, because he could not defeat Night Sorrow, Rintinji's eyes turned blood-red. The blood-red energy on his body surged, and his killing aura rippled in all directions. The first one to be suppressed was Night Sorrow. Seeing that Rintinji had performed a special ability, Night Sorrow propped up a protective air shield. The power of the law of nothingness rippled in all directions, blocking the suppression of Rintinji's killing intent. Then, he brandished his reincarnation spear and fought head-on with Rintinji. At this time, Rintinji seemed to have lost his mind. He attacked violently with his saber, one strike after another, like a storm. Rintinji's attacks were violent, but Night Sorrow's attacks were even more violent. He still suppressed Rintinji and forced him to retreat. After being repelled by Night Sorrow, Rintinji spun around and attacked. The two of them fought above the realm sea. Seeing that Rintinji's unorthodox blood energy could not suppress him, Night Sorrow executed the law of nothingness to suppress Rintinji. With the release of Night Sorrow's law of nothingness, the blood-colored aura released by Rintinji's body was directly suppressed to the side, forming a protective barrier. At this moment, Night Sorrow unleashed his speed. His reincarnation spear continuously bombarded Rintinji's body. "Break!" Rintinji roared. His blood chi shook violently and spread out to a range of 2 feet. Then, he brandished his blade and slashed towards Night Sorrow again. JQA JV, the other IR /CX Pirate S Edition V. While fighting head-on with Rintinji, Night Sorrow thought about the battle situation. He knew that Rintinji's cultivation was unorthodox and his attainments were very deep. Even the law of nothingness was blocked by his protective barrier. It would be very difficult to kill him. However, Night Sorrow was not afraid. Rintinji's cultivation was profound, but his true chi and myriad Dao scripture were supporting his attacks. His ability to resist consumption was stronger than Rintinji's. He also had the advantage in a battle of attrition. The two of them fought from the sea to the sky, and from the sky to the sea. Their figures were everywhere within a radius of several miles. Rintinji's state was very wild. After fighting for half a day, the intensity and frequency of his attacks did not seem to decrease. Most of the time, they fought in a way that would cause both sides to suffer. Night Sorrow realized that Rintinji had already lost his mind. The only thing he knew was to fight and to kill his opponent. The two of them crazily fought for half an hour. Night Sorrow discovered a problem. Rintinji did not consume much energy at all. The blood-colored slaughter chi he released would be absorbed by his body after he used it to attack. Just wait for your death. Using the slaughter intent to activate your blade, your energy is endless. If you don't kill your opponent, you won't stop, said Jun Xuanji. So what? Night Sorrow coldly snorted. He knew that Jun Xuanji was trying to influence him. After fighting 2 more times, Night Sorrow clenched his teeth and made a decision. When they fought again, Night Sorrow stabbed his spear towards Rintinji's chest. Rintinji still did not care about his own defense as he slashed his blade towards Night Sorrow's waist. Right now, he wanted to kill Night Sorrow. He did not care about his own safety. Night Sorrow did not block and continued to stab forward with his reincarnation spear. Squeak! Yishang's reincarnation spear broke through Rintinji's protective chi shield and pierced through Rintinji's shoulder as he dodged to the side to avoid being hit in a vital spot. At this time, Rintinji's blade also broke through Night Sorrow's protective barrier. When no one dared to look directly, Rintinji's blade slashed towards Night Sorrow's waist. At the crucial moment, the image of time flowing appeared on Night Sorrow's waist. After blocking Rintinji's blood-colored blade, the blade cut through his robe and reached his body. However, what shocked everyone was that the blood-colored blade just stuck to Night Sorrow's waist and did not cut through. After being offset by Night Sorrow's protective barrier and blocked by the power of Desolates, Rintinji's blade was unable to break through Night Sorrow's body defense. At this time, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear fiercely pierced through Rintinji's shoulder blade and collarbone. After sending Rintinji flying, Night Sorrow continued to chase after Rintinji with his spear. At this time, Night Sorrow was also using an internecine strategy. When others used an internecine strategy, they were risking their lives. However, Night Sorrow was different. He had a strong body defense and was not worried about the possibility of being injured. It was a completely different strategy. In addition, this strategy was not used by Night Sorrow first. After Rintinji made his move, he had been using an internecine strategy. As Night Sorrow's internecine strategy unfolded, Rintinji could not hold on any longer. Although his combat awareness allowed him to avoid his vital points, Night Sorrow still pierced many holes in his body. If it was an ordinary cultivator, their battle prowess would be affected, and their fighting spirit and state would also decline. However, Rintinji still maintained his peak state and attacked. Night Sorrow was also having a headache because he had continuously resisted Rintinji's attacks and consumed a lot of energy. The situation was obvious. If the battle continued, Rintinji would continue to be injured, but his combat power would not decrease. However, Night Sorrow would not be able to hold on any longer. The advantage of Rintinji's killing intent was the continuous fighting spirit and the constant energy consumption. Night Sorrow did not intend to continue fighting like this. No matter what happened to Rintinji after he was severely injured, it was a fact that he still maintained his peak combat power. If this continued, Night Sorrow would be the unlucky one. With this idea in mind, Night Sorrow used the Space Splitter and slashed in front of Rintinji. Rintinji's body flashed and dodged the Space Splitter. However, the Space Splitter formed beside him. At this time, Night Sorrow used the realm of the union of heaven and man to prevent the Space Splitter from closing. Then, he flashed to Rintinji's side and violently attacked with his spear. Rintinji habitually waved his blood-colored saber at Night Sorrow. After 3 moves, Night Sorrow bombarded Rintinji to the Space Splitter's entrance. This was the opportunity that Night Sorrow needed. When they collided again, Night Sorrow used his shoulder to block Rintinji's attack. At the same time, he stabbed Rintinji's chest and sent him into the Space Splitter. Then, he ignored the broken defense on his shoulder and the wound on his shoulder. He waved his left hand at the Space Splitter. Chapter 838. After the spatial tear finished closing, Rintinji disappeared, swallowed up by the spatial tear. This was the method that Night Sorrow thought of to restrain Rintinji's battle hunger, which gave him an endless supply of energy. Night Sorrow's body flickered a few times, and he returned to the edge of the realm sea. He drank some life spirit elixir and origin spirit elixir. He had to recover quickly because it was hard to say what would happen next. Night Sorrow knew that Jun Xuanji was a despicable person. When he was injured and in a bad state, he would most likely attack. She had the ultimate skill of the 4 ultimate combined attack. Yi Wuyo could resist, but it would be very difficult and there would be many variables. How is it? Yu Qing came to Night Sorrow's side and looked at the bloodstains on Night Sorrow's robes. Yi Shan shook his head and took off his tattered robes. He used his tattered robes to wipe off the blood around his wound that had already healed and quickly changed into a new set of battle robes. It's fine. If they still want to fight, I'll continue. At this moment, the space above the realm sea was still trembling. This was the struggle of Rintinji, who had been banished into the spatial turbulence by Yi Shang. It was impossible for him to escape from the spatial turbulence without a supreme technique that could break through space. Just as everyone was thinking about what would happen next, an old man charged out of the Profound Mysteries Realm's warship. His right hand slashed at the area where the space was shaking. After several attacks, a spatial crack appeared. The old man extended his right hand, and a large hand of energy reached into the spatial crack and pulled out the bloodied Rintianji. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. The one who had attacked was Xian Wenxiu. This time, Knight Sorrow was unwilling. He immediately chased after Xian Wenxiu. He didn't believe that this saint would dare to attack him. Shameless, roared Yiwuo. He also charged into the sky above the realm's sea because Jun Xuanji was blocking his path. This was the rhythm of a group battle. Retreat, roared Xian Wenxiu as he pulled Rintianji away. Hearing Xian Wenxiu's roar, Jun Xuanji's body flickered and entered the spaceship. Then the spaceship left. This situation made Knight Sorrow feel very helpless. He could only fire a few shots at the flying ship, but the ship's defense was very strong. Knight Sorrow's 2 shots were useless, and the fast-flying ship flew away. Knight Sorrow and Yiwuo returned to the edge of the realm's sea as they watched the warship fly away. At present, besides saints, only the 2 of them could fight in the air above the realm's sea. Even half-saints would be affected. It's my mistake. I should have intercepted him. It's just that I didn't think that he would make a move in such a hurry. Since he made a move after you returned, it can't be considered as interfering in the war. It can be considered as saving someone. Long Xianqing said. It's nothing. If I can teach him a lesson once, I can teach him a lesson again, Knight Sorrow said. Although he said so, Knight Sorrow was still very annoyed in his heart. Because Rintianji was a great enemy. Except for him, no one under Saint Realm could contend against him. Well said. Well done. Let's see what other means they have. They won't be able to fight fair and square, Heavenly Underworld Saint said. Senior Heavenly Underworld Saint, the fall of the Western Nether region is a disgrace to the people of the 9 regions. Give me some time. I will stabilize and kill my way over. Knight Sorrow looked at Heavenly Underworld Saint and said. Don't worry. The situation is very good now. The people of the Western Nether region are doing well in the 3 Yuan domain. Let's do it steadily. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Heavenly Underworld Saint hastily waved his hand. He didn't want his words to disturb Knight Sorrow's train of thought. Last time, it was because of his impatience that Western Nether region fell into enemy hands. He didn't want such a thing to happen again. Long Xianqing and Xiao Longjun also told Knight Sorrow not to worry. Since the situation had stabilized, they just had to fight steadily and surely. Knight Sorrow called for Tianyu to go catch a wild beast while he returned to his tent with the others. At this time, the 9 regions world's camp was filled with a jubilant atmosphere. Knight Sorrow had forced back the experts of the Profound Mysteries realm twice, setting the tone for the upcoming battle. The people of the 9 regions also knew that Knight Sorrow was currently the strongest person under Saint Realm. Knight Sorrow's cultivation base wasn't the best under Saint Realm. It could even be said that there were many people with higher cultivation bases than Knight Sorrow. But in terms of actual combat power, no one could compare to him. Even Knight Sorrow's father, Quasi-Saint Yiwuo, was no match for him. Yiwuo and Jun Xuanji were evenly matched, but Knight Sorrow was able to suppress and force Jun Xuanji back. Knight Sorrow, the 9 region saints, and the representatives of the 9 regions sovereigns drank together before returning to his tent. Good job. Yang Lei, who had just returned from celebrating with the god-slaying squad, hugged Knight Sorrow and patted Knight Sorrow's back. Following that, Knight Sorrow also hugged Sikong Chuyu. Our efforts during this time didn't go to waste. Now that we've suppressed them, this battle will be easier to fight. Your efforts have paid off. Today, you've shown your might, Sikong Chuyu said as he brewed tea. Watch little Q says Q for free. At this time, Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing also came to Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow, what do you plan to do next? Yi Wuyo asked after sitting down. Right now, we're looking for stability. I want to raise my cultivation base again because I still have a lot of room for improvement, said Night Sorrow. That's a good idea. You've just become a 9th rank sovereign, and you're still far from the peak of the 9th rank. That means you still have room for improvement. Your spiritual strength and innate bloodline power can both be improved. How about this? I'll go scout the path and see where their spatial channel is. At that time, you won't be in a passive position no matter how you fight, said Yi Wuyo. Father, I'll go scout it later. Night Sorrow shook his head. What he cared about the most was the safety of his family and the people around him. He didn't want his father to take the risk. I understand what you're worried about. After cultivating with Senior Long Xianqing, I've gained some insights into breaking spatial seals. This time, I'm only going to investigate the location of the spatial passageway. I won't fight with them, so you don't have to worry. Yi Wuyo smiled. Night Sorrow hesitated. He didn't know if he should agree or not. Son, don't worry. I'm a quasi-sage. It's good enough that I don't kill others. If others want to kill me, they won't be able to do it, said Yu Qing with a smile. That's true. I'm just worried. Then, will father go alone or bring others? Asked Night Sorrow with a smile. After hearing Yu Qing's words, he knew that he was overly nervous. After all, Yi Wuyo was a quasi-sage with the spatial attribute. He could use spatial cracks and teleport at any time. Then we'll continue to bring Monarch Yun and Venerable Wu Hen. The three of us work well together, said Yi Wuyo. Night Sorrow then called Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling over. He emphasized that the three of them were only going to scout the spatial channel, not fight. Safety was the most important thing. Chapter 839. After that, Yi Wuyo and the other two set off to find out more information. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. Night Sorrow wasn't too worried. After thinking about it, he felt that it was fine. After all, Yi Wuyo was a spatial quasi-sage. Night Sorrow relaxed for 2 days before entering the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to continue cultivating his soul power and comprehending laws. His true Qi and myriad Dao Tome naturally improved. In the West Nether region's East Cloud City, something was wrong. Jun Xuanji's face was gloomy. Xian Wenxiu and Shang Luo, who were sitting beside him, didn't say anything. The other higher-ups also had ugly expressions. Grand Elder Xian, what's going on with that guy? Why can't even my senior brother's slaughter intent restrain him? Jun Xuanji asked Xian Wenxiu after calming down. He cultivates a body-refining technique. His body is extremely powerful. His cultivation is a bit low, but his combat power can't be measured by cultivation. Also, his law power is very strong. It's very similar to the legendary sovereign attribute, sighed Xian Wenxiu. If we don't defeat him, we won't be able to start this war, said Jun Xuanji. No one said anything. That was the truth. Because of the Saint contract, the strongest experts below the Saint realm were in the 9 regions world. This made it impossible for the Profound Mysteries realm to attack. The information wasn't accurate. We fell into a passive position from the very beginning. Originally, we said that without a peak saint, we would be able to crush them. But in the end, 2 peak saints appeared, and then the sovereigns made a mistake, said Jun Xuanji. At this time, no one said anything because these things could not be predicted. Holy Maiden, let's not talk about the past. This is the variable of war. Now, let's see how we can win this war, said Xian Wenxiu. Grand Elder Xian, if we want to win this war, Night Sorrow is a roadblock. If we don't kill him, we won't be able to change the situation. We can go around him, but if he attacks our troops, we won't be able to stop him. We won't be able to control the situation, said Jun Xuanji. We can't give up the war just because of one person. We still have to think of a way, said Yi Xiantian. This time, the mysterious Heaven Sword sect had lost half its strength. He wasn't willing to just give up like this. If my senior brother paid more attention and didn't send him into the chaotic flow, would we win? Jun Xuanji asked Xian Wenxiu. Xian Wenxiu thought for a moment and said, sure, but your senior brother is seriously injured this time. He won't be able to recover without a period of time. As long as there is a chance, we can wait. For now, we will continue to manage the Western Nether territory and build a defensive line. Grand Elder Xian, treat my senior brother's injuries. I will also work hard to cultivate and see if I can make any progress. Jun Xuanji thought for a moment and made a decision. Yi Shang was steadily cultivating. He was no longer in a hurry. A few days ago, he knew that Jun Xuanji definitely had a backup plan. However, he didn't know what it was, which made him very worried. After defeating Ren Tianji this time, Yi Shang understood that Jun Xuanji's backup plan was Ren Tianji. If X Translation's trump card was placed on the table, there was no need to be afraid of it. After a month of steady cultivation, Yi Shang finally came out of seclusion. Although Yi Shang's cultivation base did not improve much during this 1 month, it had become very stable and solid. Additionally, his comprehension of the power of laws had also gradually deepened. Night Sorrow went to see Yu Qing and Long Xianxing. The heavenly underworld sage was also in Long Xuanqing's tent. Night Sorrow, who is the person that my ancestor, the dark spirit saint, fused with? Asked the heavenly underworld sage anxiously. Night Sorrow said, his soul fused with someone else, so it's not him. Senior, why are you so persistent? I understand what you mean, but I still hope that this person can achieve something. He is another form of my ancestor in this world. Don't worry, I don't mean any harm, Tianming Saint said. If it's convenient, there's no harm in telling you, said Long Xianxing. Alright, Senior Heavenly Underworld Sage. Let's make it clear first. You can't have any plans to steal him, said Night Sorrow. Alright. I promise you. Seeing that Night Sorrow was willing to tell him, the heavenly underworld sage quickly nodded. He's my 12th senior apprentice brother. It's a long story. Night Sorrow told him about how the dark spirit saint had helped Guan Yi to be reborn. So it's like that. Actually, I've guessed 2 people. One is Guan Yi, and the other is Qin Zhen. It really is Guan Yi, said the heavenly underworld sage as he sat down. Senior, what do you plan to do now that you know? Asked Night Sorrow. The heavenly underworld sage expressed his intentions. He wouldn't ask Guan Yi for anything. He would only guide Guan Yi's cultivation and let him grow. That made Night Sorrow relax. He had been worried that the heavenly underworld sage would ask Guan Yi to join the Western Nether region. If that happened, he wouldn't be able to explain it to Yu Yangyu. After that, Night Sorrow brought the heavenly underworld sage to see Guan Yi. He told Guan Yi about the relationship between the dark spirit saint and the heavenly underworld sage. The relationship between the heavenly underworld sage and Guan Yi was very strange. Guan Yi was clearly a junior, but the heavenly underworld sage was very polite to him. That was because Guan Yi had fused with his ancestor's soul. Senior heavenly underworld sage, my brother's talent isn't bad. You can give him some pointers. Night Sorrow also wanted to give Qin Zhen some benefits. Haha, that kid's not bad. It doesn't matter if he has a master or not. If he becomes my disciple, I'll teach him everything, said the heavenly underworld sage. Night Sorrow was stunned. He didn't expect the heavenly underworld sage to express such an attitude directly. In fact, the heavenly underworld sage had thought highly of Guan Yi and Qin Jin. However, he didn't express it because he was worried that there was an ancestor between them. Now that it was confirmed that Guan Yi was related to the Dark Spirit Saint, it was no problem for him to accept Qin Jin as his disciple. Knight Sorrow went to Qin Jin and told him about it. Qin Jin was naturally willing, but the sect couldn't change. Knight Sorrow brought Qin Jin to see the heavenly underworld sage. Qin Jin expressed his willingness to become the heavenly underworld sage's disciple and insisted that he couldn't betray the Medicine Valley. That's not a problem. You're from the Medicine Valley. That won't change. However, you have to pass down the inheritance of the Dark Island, said the heavenly underworld sage. Qin Jin nodded. He could accept this situation. Knight Sorrow didn't care about what happened next. He went straight into the space-time pagoda and started cultivating. Once Yi Wuyo and the other two brought back news, he would take action. He planned to bring some elites to the hinterland of the Profound Mysteries realm and start a war. At that time, the Profound Mysteries realm would be the one suffering, and the 9 regions world would have the upper hand. Yi Shang was using the blood spirit turtle crystal to cultivate the myriad Tao scripture, so his true qi was naturally condensed. His main improvement was his control of the power of rules and the improvement of his soul power. As he cultivated, Yi Shang's control of the power of rules became deeper and deeper, and his soul power became more and more condensed. Chapter 840. After cultivating for 20 days, which was 10 days in the outside world, Knight Sorrow finally came out of seclusion. He wanted to know if Yi Wuyo and the others had returned and if there was any news about them. When Knight Sorrow came out of seclusion, Yi Wuyo and the others still hadn't returned. However, Knight Sorrow wasn't worried. Yi Wuyo and the others all had vital crystals in the hands of their relatives. As long as the vital crystals were fine, they were safe. Over the next few days, Yi Shan relaxed his mind and calmed his emotions. On this day, Knight Sorrow came back from the God-slaying squad's camp and found Wu Lingfei in his tent. "Auntie Fei, you've been in seclusion this whole time. I haven't seen you in a while," said Knight Sorrow with a smile. "You've been working hard, so I naturally have to work hard as well. Otherwise, you'll quickly catch up to me," said Wu Lingfei. "Auntie Fei, you must be joking." "I'm still far from that," said Knight Sorrow as he prepared to brew some tea. However, Wu Lingfei stopped Knight Sorrow and personally brewed a pot of tea. The tea that Wu Lingfei brewed was Tao Comprehension Tea, a king-grade tea. It was a type of spirit medicine that could calm one's heart, cleanse one's soul, and increase one's ability to comprehend. This was the gift that Wu Lingfei had received from Hu Shao when she had helped Grand Desolation City repel the beast tide. "This tea really is different. Drinking it refreshes my mind. Even my divine sea becomes much clearer," said Knight Sorrow as he drank a cup of Tao Comprehension tea. Wu Lingfei smiled and gave Knight Sorrow half of the Tao Comprehension tea. "You've been bitterly cultivating. Although you've been able to persevere, your mind is still very tired. If you have nothing to do, drink a cup to relieve yourself." Holding the tea, Knight Sorrow hesitated for a moment but didn't refuse. "The situation is good right now, so don't be impatient. They're the ones with a headache. They can't advance or retreat. If they can't take you down, they're worried that you'll cause trouble. If you retreat, they won't be able to explain themselves. Many of their people have died in battle," said Wu Lingfei. Knight Sorrow nodded. He knew that Jun Xuanji was in a difficult position. His attack had been thwarted, but he was unwilling to retreat. Knight Sorrow was now waiting for the information. As long as Yi Wuyo and the others could obtain the location of the spatial passageway, Knight Sorrow would set the Profound Mysteries realm on fire. After chatting with Knight Sorrow for a while, Wu Lingfei left and continued to cultivate. With Dongxuan's origin energy, Wu Lingfei's cultivation base had risen rapidly. She was now a 3-star saint. Liang Yu, who had Nanli region's origin energy, was the same. His cultivation base had risen rapidly. His cultivation base had originally been lower than Yunhuang and Linglong's, but now he had caught up to them and was even showing signs of surpassing them. After sending Wu Lingfei off, while Night Sorrow was drinking tea, Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu had finished cultivating and returned. The two of them had also been consolidating their cultivation base during this period. Night Sorrow, I'll be going into seclusion for the next few days. I want to break through to the Saint Realm. My cultivation base can no longer be condensed or improved. The opportunity to advance has arrived. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said. Cool I4G, only, DK, every heat is a thief. Xikong Chuyu also expressed the same meaning. They had indeed been consolidating their cultivation base for a while. Besides that, they had been stimulated by Yunhuang, Linglong, and Liang Yu. The three of them were charging towards the third-level Saint Realm. If Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu did not break through, the gap between them would only grow larger. Break through when you feel that the opportunity has arrived. There's no need to deliberately suppress it, Night Sorrow nodded. In the next few days, Yang Lei and Xikong Chuyu went into seclusion one after another. It took them 4 days to break through to the Saint Realm. Night Sorrow was very happy with such a situation. He brought Xuexi and Aoi out of the time and space pagoda to celebrate with everyone. Aoi was not in a hurry now. She was not far away from the 7th level void inquiry stage and was currently cultivating her ultimate body. She was already very satisfied with the results of her recent cultivation. While the few of them were drinking, Xia Lanjun and Lin Yuandao arrived. Xikong Chuyu and Yang Lei were both members of the Tianji Tower. Since the two of them had broken through to the Saint Realm, they also wanted to congratulate them. When Xia Lanjun saw Xuexi, she was stunned for a moment. Night Sorrow introduced Xuexi to her, telling her that she was a friend of his when he was adventuring in the past. Xia Lanjun felt a little strange. She even felt that Xuexi and Yin Shi were related. However, their hair color, qi, and temperament were somewhat different. Thus, she did not think too much about it. In her impression, Night Sorrow and Yin Shi were like fire and water. When they met, they would meet with swords and spears. They could not be friends. Logically speaking, Xia Lanjuan's analysis was correct. However, due to a strange combination of factors, it led to today's situation. After celebrating with Xikong Chuyu and Yang Lei, Night Sorrow cultivated the Haotian scripture while waiting for news from Yi Wuyo and the other two. He wanted to transfer the true qi that he originally cultivated according to the sacred cauldron scripture to the cultivation path of the Haotian scripture. This was a very complicated process. There was a huge difference between each cultivation method. It was very troublesome to change it. The true qi circulation method and the meridians were all different. After half a month, Night Sorrow completed the cultivation of the Haotian scripture. After Night Sorrow solved the problem of his true qi cultivation, he began to cultivate in actual combat. Yu Qing had improved a lot after becoming Long Xuanqing's disciple. Now, she had mastered the wind attribute. In the earth-space imprisonment technique that she cultivated, she added the wind element. In other words, the attack of the wind blade was strengthened. As the days passed, there was no movement from the profound mysteries realm. They did not launch another attack, and there was no news. When Night Sorrow planned to enter the space-time pagoda to cultivate, Yi Wuyo, Yun Tianlong, and Xue Wuling returned. The three of them found the location of the spatial passage. However, because the profound mysteries realm was heavily guarded, the three of them did not approach it. Very good. Since we know the location, we have to make a plan. It's time to counterattack. Knight Sorrow was very happy to know the location of the spatial passage. Son, there are many people guarding it. It won't be easy to enter the profound mysteries realm, Yi Wuyo said. Father, go and gather the troops. In a few days, I will take 1/3 of the invincible venerables with me. As for the peak venerables, forget about it. Knight Sorrow said. Yi Wuyo and Tai Shu were the deputy commanders of the 9 Regions World War. They could mobilize the troops. Knight Sorrow did not dare to take too many people. First of all, it was risky to go to the profound mysteries realm. The other 3 regions had to be stabilized. If everyone left, there would be problems. Okay, I will prepare the troops later. Yi Wuyo nodded. Knight Sorrow found Tai Shu and asked him and Lu Qin to prepare the resources. They had to go to war without resources. Afterward, Knight Sorrow found Hua Haining and asked for poison and antidote pills. He wanted to go to the profound mysteries realm. He wanted to play big. While Knight Sorrow was preparing, an old man arrived at the Eastern Cloud City's City Lord Manor. He was a high-level saint of the profound mysteries realm. He was guarding the spatial passage and found traces of Yi Wuyo and the others. Hearing the old man's words, Jun Xuanji laughed. Knight Sorrow, you're not the only one who knows how to play tricks. Last time, you set up an ambush and suffered heavy losses. This time, you won't be able to return. They want to open up the situation and start a war with the profound mysteries realm, Shang Luo said. Chapter 841. At that moment, clouds suddenly appeared in the sky. Red streaks appeared in the clouds, directly enveloping the high-grade saint who had come to report information about Yi Wuyo and the others. Ah, what's this? The high-grade saint cried out. He was being attacked now, both his body and soul being attacked. Quickly return to the profound mysteries realm and see if you can withstand it. This is an attack from the world source, Xian Wenqiu called out. Hearing Xian Wenqiu's call, the high-grade saint's body flashed, and he rushed out of the city lord's manor. Everything was futile. The high-grade saint had just rushed out of the city lord's manor when he could no longer move. This was because the red streaks were attacking him from all directions. In just a short moment, this high-grade saint was killed by the power of the red streaks. Xian Wenqiu sighed, and Shang Luo also shook his head helplessly. They had interfered with the war and broken the saint's contract, so the 9 Regions World Source had created a destructive power that directly killed them. The 9 Regions World's laws are incomplete, and their ability to resist other worlds is weak. However, their offensive power is still top-notch. In the future, saints should not participate in wars anymore, Xian Wenqiu said. Seeing a high-grade saint being killed by the 9 Regions World's laws with his own eyes, Xian Wenqiu was somewhat moved. He definitely could not ignore or break the saint's contract. The open cloud saint sacrificed himself for the war between worlds. This is something that no one wants to see, so we have to make the open cloud saint's death worthwhile. Invite Grandmaster Gu over, Jun Xuanji ordered. Grandmaster Gu was the most powerful formation grandmaster in the profound mysteries realm. Now, Jun Xuanji was going to use the same method as Knight Sorrow, an ambush. They had to ambush him. A short moment later, an elder in linen robes came to the city lord's manor. He was the profound mysteries realm's formation grandmaster, Gu Tianyu. Grandmaster Gu, the 9 Regions world has found the location of the spatial tunnel between the 9 Regions world and the profound mysteries realm. They plan to pull the battle line to the profound mysteries realm, so I want to ask Grandmaster to set up a formation at the spatial tunnel and kill all of their elites, Jun Xuanji said to Gu Tianyu. Hearing Jun Xuanji's words, Gu Tianyu's dull eyes lit up. Saintess, don't worry. I'll set up a destruction formation and seal the spatial tunnel entrance. Grandmaster Gu, their people know how to cut space. So, when you set up the array formation, put more effort into sealing space, Jun Xuanji said to Gu Tianyu. Then add a spatial imprisonment formation, Gu Tianyu said. Night Sorrow was cultivating at the edge of the realm sea. Yi Wuyo had already arranged for the invincible paragons to fight, Yun Tianlong, Xue Wuling, Bei Tiange, and Night God Kuang. Night Sorrow, I've called over 4 unrivaled sovereigns for the people you want to fight. Including me, they're about half as strong as the unrivaled sovereigns, said Yi Wuyo. Father, you can't go. After I leave, we still need someone to guard this place. At the very least, they can block Jun Xuanji. Also, we don't need so many people. Just 2 seniors will be enough. We'll go kill and burn. Saints can't participate, so who can stop us? Most of their forces are in the 9 regions world, said Night Sorrow. That's fine. Then Prince Wu, you can stay behind. This king and brother Xue can come with you, said Yun Tianlong. Then it's decided. Seniors, come with me. I'll bring the god-slaying squad to have some fun in the profound mysteries realm. However, it won't be easy to pass through the spatial tunnel. They'll definitely have an ambush. When the time comes, Overlord Yun and Senior Xue will have to suffer and enter my spatial treasure. Night Sorrow looked at Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling. He was giving them a warning. If they weren't willing to enter the spacetime pagoda, it would be troublesome. If you have something to say, just say it directly. This king will listen to orders. There's no need to beat around the bush, said Yun Tianlong. I'll also listen to orders. As long as it's an order from you, the commander of the 9 regions world, I'll definitely carry it out, laughed Xue Wuling. Then it's decided. Now the biggest problem is passing through the spatial tunnel. If I'm not wrong, there's a huge hole waiting for us there, said Night Sorrow after pouring tea for everyone. Are you sure? Asked the Grand Elder. Because of the saint contract, their saints can't fight, but they can still stand guard. If I'm not wrong, when my father, King Yun, and Senior Xue went to investigate, their saints had already discovered us. With such an opportunity, they definitely wouldn't set up a trap for us, said Night Sorrow with a smile. Choosing you as the commander of the 9 regions world should be a blessing for us. But even if there's an ambush, there's still a chance, said the Grand Elder. It's not a chance, it's 100%. Because I'm Jun Xuanji, I'll definitely do it, said Night Sorrow. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. At this moment, everyone nodded because Yi Shang's judgment was reasonable. Then how are you going to get there? Long Xianqing and the others had also arrived at Night Sorrow's tent. I know a little about arrays. If I discover that they've set up a large array, I'll use spatial rend and directly travel through the chaotic flow of space. That way, I won't give them a chance to use their array. It's impossible for them to set up an array in the chaotic flow of space, said Night Sorrow with a smile. That's a good idea. Long Xianqing nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow had already made plans. When are we leaving? Asked Xiaolongjun. The sooner, the better. Ren Tianji is heavily injured, and Jun Xuanji won't attack for a while. If we're late, they might attack at any time. At that time, I won't be here, and it won't be easy to defend, said Night Sorrow. After chatting with the seniors for a while, Night Sorrow arrived at the god-slaying squad's camp and clapped his hands. As Night Sorrow clapped, the members of the god-slaying squad gathered. Every time Night Sorrow clapped his hands, it was the order to gather. Everyone has been cultivating bitterly for a while. There's no point in just sharpening our blades without fighting. There'll be a big battle soon. Everyone, come with me. Nan Liyue, go get some supplies from City Lord Tai Shu and distribute them to everyone. Tomorrow, we'll gather and fight, ordered Night Sorrow. Marshal Uncle 13, is it murder, arson, or robbery? Ma Shizhuang pulled Tang Tian and Chu Ning to Night Sorrow's side. We can't even beat the three of you. Work harder. Look, our god-slaying team has venerables and peak tier 5 venerables everywhere. You guys are still a tier 4, Night Sorrow said as he looked at the three of them. Ma Shizhuang, Tang Tian, and Chu Ning nodded. They knew that they couldn't keep up with the pace with their 4th rank cultivation, but there was nothing they could do. Chapter 842. Okay, don't feel pressured. Just don't slack off, Night Sorrow said to the three of them. After giving his instructions, Yi Shang returned to his tent and chatted with his father and mother over tea. After resting for a while, Night Sorrow came out of his tent and went to the camp of the god-slaying squad. Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi were also there. Everyone, don't resist. Enter the pagoda. I'll let you out when you need to fight. Night Sorrow waved his right hand and the pagoda returned to its 3-story height. Then, the door opened. Then, the members of the god-slaying squad all entered the pagoda. After seeing the members of the god-slaying team enter the pagoda of time and space, Yi Shan looked at Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling, who were behind him. Okay, Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling nodded. Night Sorrow kept Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling, who didn't resist, into the pagoda. After keeping the pagoda, Night Sorrow nodded to Long Xianqing and the other saints. Then, he looked at Yi Wuyo and Granduncle. Father and Granduncle City Lord will handle the rest. Stabilize this place first. I'll open up the situation in the Profound Mysteries realm. Then, the direction of the war will change, Night Sorrow said. Be careful. Safety comes first, Yi Wuyo reminded Night Sorrow. Yu Qing's eyes were filled with worry. I'll be careful, Night Sorrow said. Then, he nodded to Wu Lingfei who rushed over. Also, they've set up a defense line at the border of the Realm Sea of the Western Nether Territory. It's slightly weaker in the west, Yi Wuyo said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. Then, he cupped his fists to the others. Then, he took out a spaceship and drove it away from the border. Riding a spaceship alone, how extravagant, Sky Underworld Saint muttered. What's wrong with being a little extravagant now? He needs to cultivate and maintain his peak condition. Long Xianqing said. In the 9 Domains world, only Long Xianqing would not give any face to Heavenly Underworld Saint. What you said makes sense, but don't be so sharp, okay? Heavenly Underworld Saint looked at Long Xianqing with disdain and returned to his tent. Night Sorrow was in the airship, meditating and cultivating his foundation while strengthening his comprehension of the power of laws and increasing his soul force. The Realm Sea was 800,000 miles wide. Even the fastest flying ship, Night Sorrow, took nearly a day to arrive. Not far from the edge of the Realm Sea, Night Sorrow kept his flying ship, propped up his protective barrier, and approached the edge of the Realm Sea. He knew that the troops of the Profound Mysteries realm had built a defensive line, but their energy was focused on attacking, so the defensive line was not very strong. Besides, Night Sorrow believed that with his speed, he would have no problem breaking through the defensive line. Most importantly, Night Sorrow was not afraid of fighting. As long as there was an obstruction, he would dare to kill. After reaching the shore of the Realm Sea, Night Sorrow released his soul force and found where the troops of the Profound Mysteries realm were stationed. He went around them and entered the depths of the Western Nether region. After traveling for a while, Night Sorrow let Xue Wuling and Yun Tianlong out of the Spacetime Pagoda because they knew where the spatial passageway was. The three of them flew. While flying, Yun Tianlong also explained the current situation of the Western Nether region. Currently, the Profound Mysteries realm only managed a few large cities in the Western Nether region. They did not care about the smaller cities, and they did not even have any troops stationed there. The main reason was that they were helpless against Yiwuyo and the others. Each time Yiwuyo's group of 3 crossed the Realm Sea, they would fly through the gaps between the spatial laws of the Realm Sea and the spatial laws of the air. Adding on the fact that the Profound Mysteries Realm's defensive line had yet to be completed, no one noticed them entering the Western Nether region. It won't be so easy next time. When I came here, I sensed that there were quite a few troops from the Profound Mysteries Realm at the edge of the Realm Sea. Once we get entangled, their experts will arrive, said Night Sorrow. Under Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling's lead, the 3 of them traveled at full speed for 6 days before arriving at the Nether Mountain Range. That's not right. Last time we came here, the patrols were mostly venerables. There were even invincible venerables leading the patrols. This time, they're all at the 5th rank, said Yun Tianlong. This is a trap. They're afraid that we won't be able to enter if they send high-level patrols, and they'll scare us away. But they're also afraid that we'll be alerted, so they sent 5th-rank patrols, said Night Sorrow with a smile. The new GS is the fastest G's coolest. That makes sense. Then how should we deal with them? I think this will be a terrifying trap, said Yun Tianlong. Let's get a bit closer. Their patrols won't be able to discover us. When the time comes, I'll enter chaotic space and charge straight through. We won't get entangled with them, said Night Sorrow. Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling then entered the Spacetime Pagoda. That was because Night Sorrow would have to deal with the ambush. They wouldn't be able to help him. With the reincarnation spear in hand, Yishang quietly approached the entrance of the spatial passageway. Relying on his soul power to investigate, it was easy for Yishang to avoid the patrol team formed by rank 5 cultivators. When he was still 30 li away from the spatial passageway, Yishang stopped. Night Sorrow saw traces of a formation. The space and energy in front of them weren't flowing naturally. In other words, it was a sign that someone was interfering with them. Smiling, Night Sorrow used spatial rend and stealthily entered the spatial channel, entering chaotic space. With the power of laws protecting him, the spatial storms in the spatial channel couldn't approach or threaten Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow traveled through the chaotic space at a speed similar to the 9 regions world. As he moved forward, Night Sorrow narrowed his eyes. He could feel that the spatial barrier had changed. It became thicker and tougher. This made him understand that the space had been strengthened. This meant that regardless of whether it was in chaotic space or the 9 regions world, it would be difficult to break through space. This was a method targeted at him and Yiwuyo. Night Sorrow traveled through the spatial turbulence and quickly neared the entrance of the spatial tunnel. This area was rather complicated. It was the border between the 9 zones world, the spatial tunnel, and the spatial turbulence. However, Night Sorrow had already passed the area where the other party had set up an ambush. Night Sorrow used spatial rend and cut open the spatial barrier. Then, he cut the space in the spatial channel again. It was equivalent to using spatial rend twice in a row. After using spatial rend, Night Sorrow's body flashed out of the chaotic space of the 9 regions world. Then, he entered the spatial channel and the spatial channel. Finally, he smoothed out the spatial fluctuations. All of this happened in an instant. Night Sorrow's actions were fast, but the energy fluctuations still attracted some people's attention. 5 to 6 invincible venerables appeared near the spatial channel at the same time. After checking around, they didn't find anything. They were very puzzled. Don't worry. With the spatial channel as the base, I'll set up a circular formation. The surrounding 15 kilometers will be enveloped by the formation. As long as someone comes, we'll know, Gu Tianyu said confidently. After using his spiritual strength to check the outside, Night Sorrow traveled forward in the chaotic space and headed toward the Profound Mysteries realm. Chapter 843. A moment later, Night Sorrow charged through the spatial passageway. However, a spatial barrier appeared in front of him. It was the spatial barrier of the Profound Mysteries realm. Night Sorrow once again used the spatial rift and entered the spatial turbulence of the Profound Mysteries realm. After probing, Night Sorrow discovered that the Profound Mysteries realm was indeed ruthless. They had set up array formations on both sides of the spatial passageway and had invincible supremacies guarding them. Although the power of his bloodline was somewhat depleted, Night Sorrow had the Nihility Law and the Nihility Protective Barrier to protect him. Thus, he had no problem traveling through the spatial turbulence. After traveling for 200 miles in the spatial turbulence, Night Sorrow used the spatial rift and exited the spatial turbulence. After exiting the spatial turbulence, Night Sorrow's body flashed and he entered the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to recover. Now that he was in the Profound Mysteries realm, which was his opponent's territory, Night Sorrow knew that it was important to maintain his peak combat strength at all times. During this period, he had not consumed much, but more than half of his bloodline power had been consumed. An hour later, Night Sorrow had recovered to his peak state. After drinking a mouthful of wine, Night Sorrow exited the Spacetime Pagoda and brought Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling out. Night Sorrow wanted to listen to Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling's suggestions. After all, their experience was not something he could compare to. We need information. We need to know more about the Profound Mysteries realm. Also, we need a map. That way, we can do whatever we want, Yun Tianlong said after pondering for a moment. Then let's find a city to settle down in first. Fortunately, we are the same as the humans in the Profound Mysteries realm. We don't have to worry about being exposed. Night Sorrow nodded. After 2 days, Night Sorrow and the other two arrived at the nearest city to the spatial passageway in the Profound Mysteries realm, Three Sun City. After entering the city, Night Sorrow and the other two easily bought a world map of the Profound Mysteries realm. They also bought some miscellaneous books and anecdotes. Then, the three of them entered a tea house. As they drank tea, they studied the map. After studying the map, Night Sorrow's group of three began to read the miscellaneous books. As they read, Night Sorrow's group gained a better understanding of the Profound Mysteries realm. In the Profound Mysteries realm, the strongest and most influential sect was the Profound Mysteries Pavilion. The Profound Pavilion had an extraordinary status in the Profound Mysteries realm. It never interfered with the struggles of the clans and sections. However, it commanded all the forces. If any force disobeyed the Profound Pavilion's orders, it would be obliterated and cease to exist in the Profound Mysteries realm. The person in charge of the Profound Pavilion was either the Holy Son or the Holy Daughter. I didn't expect it to be like this. I think that woman called Jun Xuanji must be the Holy Maiden of the Profound Pavilion. That's why she was able to command the heroes of the Profound Mysteries realm, said Xue Wuling. That should be the case. The Profound Pavilion is very powerful and can command all the forces. That's why they can unite all the cultivators in the Profound Mysteries realm, Night Sorrow said as he sipped his tea. The Profound Mysteries Royal City is the #1 city. The Profound Pavilion's headquarters is in the Profound Mysteries Mountain. That's their lair. However, they must have many experts. We might not be able to take them down, said Yun Tianlong. Don't worry. Saints can't participate in the battle. Most of the invincible honorables have been transferred to the 9 Domains world. We have nothing to worry about. Let's attack the Profound Mysteries Mountain and destroy the Profound Pavilion's lair, said Night Sorrow. We'll listen to you. We haven't even started killing yet, but I can already feel my blood boiling, said Xue Wuling with a smile. If we can fight, we'll fight. If we exhaust ourselves, we'll run. It's not that difficult. Besides, they'll only feel pain when their important places are destroyed. Only then will it be effective, said Night Sorrow. Then, Night Sorrow, Yun Tianlong, and Xue Wuling arrived at the teleportation array in the Three Suns City and began the teleportation. Free reading for a long time, 9 novels after a few teleportations, the three of them arrived at the central region of the Profound Mysteries realm, the Profound Mysteries Royal City. After finding an inn to stay in, Knight Sorrow entered the Pagoda of Time and Space. He transferred Xue Wuling and Yun Tianlong inside as well. He needed to make some tactical arrangements. "We'll fight however you want," said Yun Tianlong. He believed in Knight Sorrow's plans and tactics. They had been tested in battle. Everyone has kerosene and poison, right? When the battle starts, everyone starts burning and killing. Remember, don't touch those without cultivation, especially the children. "War has nothing to do with children," said Knight Sorrow to the God-slaying team. After the group nodded, Knight Sorrow looked at Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling. Their invincible honorables and peak honorables are probably in the western nether region of the 9 domains world. Therefore, no matter which force it is, there won't be more than 3 experts. When the battle starts, the 3 of us will restrain and kill the enemy's experts. We can't let the experts pose a threat to the God-slaying team. All right. Their saints won't dare to make a move. The 3 of us will hold off their top experts. There won't be any problems. Xue Wuling nodded. The God-slaying team is in charge of destruction and killing their cultivators. The other thing is resources. Since they dare to snatch the resources of our 9-domain world, we'll move the resources of the Profound Mysteries realm back to our 9-domain world, Yishan said to the members of the God-slaying team. "Yes, sir." The God-slaying team members replied to Knight Sorrow by tapping on their breastplates. "Tonight, we'll destroy the Profound Pavilion's lair, Profound Mountain. We'll burn down their mountain and rob them of their resources," said Knight Sorrow. After resting for the night, Knight Sorrow put on the Night Moon King battle armor and transferred Tianyu out of the Pagoda of Time and Space. He rode on Tianyu and rushed toward Profound Mountain. The distance between Profound Imperial City and Profound Mountain wasn't very far. It was only a few thousand miles. When they arrived at Profound Mountain's entrance, Knight Sorrow blasted the signboard with the words, "Profound Pavilion," into pieces with a single spear strike. Then, Knight Sorrow brandished his reincarnation spear and killed the Profound Pavilion disciples guarding the mountain gate with a few spear rays. Tianyu flew at a low altitude. His sharp claws and wings slashed out sharp blades, killing the Profound Pavilion disciples who tried to stop them and warn them. Profound Mountain was very big. It took Tianyu 15 minutes to reach the Profound Pavilion's main hall as he flew at top speed. Following the warning of the enemy's attack, the plaza of the Profound Pavilion's main hall was filled with disciples of the Profound Pavilion. However, the leader was only a peak venerable, and there was also an old man with snow-white hair and a beard that Yishang couldn't see through. Knight Sorrow knew that the old man was a saint, but he didn't care. "Who are you? How dare you cause trouble in the Profound Pavilion's holy land?" the old man shouted at Knight Sorrow, who was standing on Tianyu's back. Knight Sorrow of the 9 Regions world. This is a war between the 9 Regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm. Do you dare to interfere? Knight Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and roared. The old man glanced at Knight Sorrow, then at the Profound Pavilion's troops. He didn't say anything. Profound Pavilion is now a war zone. If you dare to interfere, you know the result. Also, you can't take away any of the resources here. Otherwise, you'll be interfering in the war, Knight Sorrow snorted coldly. The old man glared fiercely at Knight Sorrow, then retreated. 2 days ago, a high-level saint had interfered in the war and was killed by the world's laws. He didn't want to become the second, so he could only leave the war zone. As the Profound Pavilion's disciples charged forward, Knight Sorrow waved his left hand and released the people he'd brought with him. According to the plan, kill all the core members of the Profound Pavilion. Didn't they want to start a war? Then kill them. With a roar, Night Sorrow soared into the air and charged at the peak venerable. Right now, there were only 3 people who could threaten the safety of the god-slaying team. If Night Sorrow could deal with one, Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling would easily deal with the rest. Chapter 844. Night Sorrow's target was a peak venerable. This peak venerable was the vice pavilion lord of the mysterious pavilion, Yu Heng. The profound pavilion didn't have a pavilion master, only a holy maiden and a holy son. Currently, aside from the holy maiden, Jun Xuanji, and the saint-level grand elders, Yu Heng's status and position were the highest in the profound pavilion. Hence, he stayed here to guard the profound pavilion. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear stabbed over. Yu Heng waved his blade and slashed at Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. In Yu Heng's eyes, Night Sorrow and he were both level 9 venerables. Night Sorrow had just become a level 9 venerable, while he was at the peak of level 9. He wouldn't be at a disadvantage if he faced Night Sorrow head-on. Bang! Following a loud explosion, Yu Heng was sent flying by Night Sorrow's spear. His feet left 2 deep grooves in the ground. Night Sorrow stomped with his right foot, causing the hard ground of the plaza to crack. Some of the disciples of the mysterious pavilion who were rushing toward Night Sorrow were sent flying. At this moment, Night Sorrow soared into the sky and caught up with Yu Heng in a flash. Once again, he stabbed his reincarnation spirit Yu Heng. Night Sorrow had unleashed the power of the law of nothingness in this spear strike, as well as the nothingness true energy extreme kill. Yu Heng's expression changed drastically. He couldn't dodge in time and could only swing his blade again. Without a sound or breath, Yi Shang's reincarnation spear clashed with Yu Heng's battle saber without any sound. Yu Heng's battle saber was broken by Yi Shang's reincarnation spear, and the spear light of the reincarnation spear pierced into Yu Heng's chest. Yu Heng spat out blood and retreated. His eyes were filled with shock. Night Sorrow was too strong. He couldn't fight against him at all. Night Sorrow wouldn't give Yu Heng a chance to escape. He used his protective energy shield to cut forward, and the reincarnation spear pierced Yu Heng's chest. Then, his vital energy exploded, breaking all of Yu Heng's meridians and dantian. Yu Heng grabbed the shaft of Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. His eyes were filled with confusion and bewilderment. He was a peak 9th level venerable, but he was killed by Night Sorrow, an early 9th level venerable, in 3 moves. After taking Yu Heng's storage ring, Night Sorrow brandished his reincarnation spear and started to hunt down the other opponents from the mysterious pavilion who were mid-level venerable ones and above. The area covered by the battle grew larger and larger, mainly because some of the disciples of the profound pavilion had fled, and the members of the god-slaying team chased after them. An hour later, the battle ended. Nan Liue and Yun Huang led their men to harvest the spoils of war. Liang Yu, Ling Long, Ho Jian, and the others held torches and were about to start a fire. Don't go too far. The white-haired saint reappeared in the plaza of the profound pavilion, glaring at Night Sorrow with murderous intent. You're the one who wanted to attack the 9 regions world. Now you're telling me not to go too far. Brothers, burn this place down. We still need to sweep the various branches of the profound pavilion. Night Sorrow didn't care about the saint's words. The white-haired old man was so angry that his body trembled, but he didn't dare to attack. If he did, he would be interfering in the war. Even though he was from the Profound Mysteries realm, the origin of the Profound Mysteries realm wouldn't let him off if he went against the Heavenly Tao Oath. The Profound Pavilion's main hall, which had been passed down for countless years, had been plundered clean by the god-slaying team and turned into a ball of raging flames. Get on your mounts and sweep all the halls of the Profound Pavilion. Night Sorrow roared and leaped onto the back of Tianyu, who had come to pick him up, and flew toward the other peaks of the Profound Pavilion. Aside from the main peak, there were 11 other peaks in the Medicine Valley. The Profound Pavilion was the same, and there were many other pavilions and halls. After a long time, the Profound Pavilion was destroyed without the unrivaled venerables around, and the saints didn't dare to attack. All that was left were broken beams and tiles that were still burning. Knight Sorrow and the others left after robbing a large amount of resources. Knight Sorrow was very cautious. After leaving for a distance, he put everyone into the space-time pagoda and then entered the turbulent space. After traveling for hundreds of miles and making sure that no one could follow them, he left the spatial crack and entered the space-time pagoda. Everyone, pay attention to your recovery. We need to destroy the Profound Mysteries Realm's Profound Mysteries Imperial City before they can react. We need to deal the greatest damage to them, Yishan said as he looked at the excited members of the God-slaying squad. Captain, this is a war between worlds. It's not appropriate for me to keep the resources. These 3 storage rings contain the spoils of the war. The Profound Pavilion is really rich. Nan Liuet took out 3 storage rings and handed them to Knight Sorrow. After thinking for a moment, Knight Sorrow nodded. He knew that the war resources belonged to the 9 Domains world, so it wasn't appropriate for the God-slaying team to keep them. He looked at Yun Tianlong. Don't look at me. I came out to fight with you. I don't care about anything else. Yun Tianlong shook his head. Don't look at me either. I came out with you to kill, aha. Xue Wuling laughed. Then we'll talk about it when we get back. Right now, let's focus on recovering. We have to race against time. We have to attack their core city, the Profound Mysteries Imperial City, as soon as possible. Then we'll attack the other sects and sects, said Knight Sorrow. Everyone nodded. Yishang was discussing and asking for everyone's opinion, but at this moment, everyone treated Yishang's words as an order. Once the news spreads, the Profound Mysteries Realm troops stationed in the Western Nether region will return to reinforce us. The pressure on the 3 origin regions' defense line will be relieved, said Xue Wuling. Xue Wuling said. He knew that destroying Xianji Pavilion would be the turning point of this War of the Worlds. Right now, the Profound Mysteries Realm was in a passive position. The 9 Domains world could resist the invasion of the Profound Mysteries Realm in the 3 origin region, but the Profound Mysteries Realm couldn't. They would have to face the attacks of the 9 Domains world's troops. Most importantly, no one below the Saint Realm in the Profound Mysteries Realm could fight against Knight Sorrow. This was also the 9 Domains world's advantage in having experts below the Saint Realm. This advantage wasn't something the Profound Mysteries Realm could equalize. After resting for 2 hours, everyone was back in peak condition. Knight Sorrow told them their next tactic. They would first control the Profound Mysteries Imperial City's transportation formation. They couldn't let the Profound Mysteries Realm's cultivators come to reinforce them. Knight Sorrow, it's going to be difficult this time. We've already seen the Profound Mysteries Imperial City. It's bigger than any of the 9 Domains royal cities, and there are a lot of cultivators there. If it turns into a war of attrition, it won't be fun. Xue Wuling looked at Knight Sorrow. Cool K for a long time free of charge P reading /G novel. Knight Sorrow nodded. He knew that the safety of himself, Yun Tianlong, and Xue Wuling was not a problem. However, the God-slaying squad was not. Once they were exhausted, they would be killed. Knight Sorrow did not want to see that happen. After making his decision, Knight Sorrow exited the Spacetime Pagoda and flew towards Profound Secret's royal city. When he arrived at Profound Secret's imperial city, Knight Sorrow saw a scene of panic. The news of Profound Secret's pavilion's destruction had already spread. This had a huge impact on the Profound Secret's realm. Profound Secret's pavilion could be said to be the faith of all cultivators in the Profound Secret's realm. How serious was the destruction of their faith? Night Sorrow rushed to the vicinity of the teleportation formation. With a wave of his reincarnation spear, he killed the two mid-level supremacies guarding the teleportation formation. Night Sorrow controlled the power of rule and could easily kill a mid-level venerable. Following which, Night Sorrow removed the teleportation crystal from the teleportation array and teleported everyone out of the spacetime pagoda. Chapter 845. Night Sorrow, Yun Tianlong, and Xue Wuling led the god-slaying team towards Profound Secret's Imperial City Lord's residence. They wanted to destroy the City Lord's residence first. That had symbolic meaning. While Yi Shang and the others were flying towards the Profound Secret's Imperial City Lord's mansion, a man was reporting about the destruction of the Profound Secret's pavilion in the 9 regions world's western nether region's East Cloud City. How did this happen? When did they get there? Isn't there an annihilation formation at the spatial tunnel entrance? Aren't there guards on both sides? Xian Wenqiu grabbed the man's collar and roared. Grand Elder, I'm not sure. Vice Pavilion Master Yu was killed, and the Profound Secrets Palace and 7 branch palaces were all burned down, the man continued to explain. We have to go back as quickly as we can. Saints can't interfere in the war. Our invincible venerables and peak venerables are all here. The Profound Secrets realm doesn't have many experts, so we can't stop their attacks, Shang Luo said somewhat anxiously. We saints can't interfere in the war. The Open Cloud Saint's death is the result of interfering in the war. Hurry up, Xian Wenqiu said through gritted teeth. He was the Grand Elder of the Profound Secrets Pavilion, so he had to bear a large part of the responsibility. Jun Xuanji's expression was ashen. How did this happen? We clearly set up a killing trap at the spatial tunnel entrance that could have heavily injured them. Why didn't it work? Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, let's not talk about that for now. Right now, we need to resolve the crisis, said Xian Wenqiu. Jun Xuanji nodded helplessly. She knew she couldn't attack because both Xian Wenqiu and Shang Luo cared about the Profound Secrets Realm's foundation. They wouldn't allow her to ignore the Profound Secrets Realm and fight against the 9 regions world. The high-level cultivators would go back to save the situation, while the low-level cultivators would be killed if they stayed. So, they had to retreat. Jun Xuanji gave the order to retreat. Arriving at the spatial tunnel entrance, Jun Xuanji arranged for Ren Tianji, who had recovered his strength, to stand guard. Then, he led the others to teleport towards Profound Secret's Imperial City. They were just one more teleportation away from the Profound Secret's Imperial City. Jun Xuanji and the others couldn't teleport because all the teleportation crystals in Profound Secret's Imperial City's teleportation formation had been taken away by Night Sorrow. It would take a long time to fly hundreds of thousands of miles. Damn it! Even Profound Secret's Imperial City is under attack. Being unable to teleport proved that there was a problem with the transmission array. How could Xian Wenqiu not analyze that there was a problem with Profound Secret's Imperial City? Night Sorrow's group killed along the way, all the way until they reached the Profound Secret City Lord Manor. At that moment, quite a number of people came out from the City Lord's mansion. Leading them was an old man in brocade robes. The old man's battle intent was very strong. Originally, I didn't want to participate in the war between the 9 Domains world and the Xuanji realm. But since you came, I had to fight. This Xuanji Imperial City belongs to the Jun family. If you touch Xuanji Imperial City, you will fight to the death with my Jun family. The old man took out a 4-foot-long sword and said to Night Sorrow and the others. The most influential force in the Profound Mysteries realm was the Profound Pavilion, the largest sect was the Profound Heaven Sword sect, and the most famous and powerful family was the Jun family. Jun Xuanji came from the Jun family of the Profound Secret's Imperial City Lord's estate. This old man was the head of the Jun family and the city lord of Profound Secrets Imperial City, Juntianya. This is a war between two worlds. If your Profound Mysteries realm attacks, then it's normal for us to attack back. No one is innocent. There is only victory and defeat. Knight Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear. Then come. Juntianya waved his sword and slashed at Knight Sorrow. Seeing Juntianya attack, Knight Sorrow activated his law energy to protect himself. Following that, the reincarnation spear also violently attacked. Knight Sorrow normally didn't use his law energy to protect himself. However, Juntianya was very strong and could pose a threat to him. Peak Venerables and Unrivaled Venerables were indistinguishable when they weren't fighting. They were both peak 9th rank Venerables. The only difference was their combat strength, and that was only when they fought. Juntianya waved his sword. The sword chi he released had 3 kinds of law energy coiled around it. Knight Sorrow was also suppressed by the law energy, which was why he used his law energy to counterattack. He knew that Juntianya wasn't a peak venerable but a half-saint. After activating his law energy to protect himself, Knight Sorrow was no longer suppressed by Juntianya. The void true chi on the reincarnation spear collided with Juntianya's 3-attribute energy. In terms of attribute energy research, Juntianya was stronger. However, no matter how deep his attribute energy research was, it was useless against the void true chi. It was completely neutralized. Following an explosion, Yishang retreated 2 steps, but Juntianya retreated even further. This was the result of Yishang's strong body and tyrannical strength. The Jun family was very strong. Other than Juntianya, there was another peak venerable. However, Yun Tianlong blocked him. Xue Wuling's speed was astonishing. She directly blocked the 2 high-rank venerables. She had no choice but to block them. High-rank venerables were harmful to the god-slaying squad. The battle was very intense. With someone blocking the peak venerables and high-rank venerables, the god-slaying squad was invincible. They started to kill crazily. Knight Sorrow suppressed Juntianya. However, it was impossible for him to end the battle quickly. Yun Tianlong's attack was ferocious, but the opponent was also very strong. This situation made Knight Sorrow a little anxious. The battle here was very loud. There were many cultivators in Xuanji Imperial City. If the battle couldn't end quickly, it would be troublesome. While Knight Sorrow was anxious, Xue Wuling made an achievement. She killed a high-rank venerable and then suppressed the last high-rank venerable. Victory was only a matter of time. Knight Sorrow was relieved. As long as there was one more invincible venerable, the situation would be under control. After calming down, Knight Sorrow started to fight with Juntianya. In order to end the battle quickly, Knight Sorrow used the law of nothingness to suppress Juntianya. The reincarnation spear violently bombarded him. At the same time, he was ready to use the soul-extinguishing slash. During this period of time, Knight Sorrow's cultivation had been rapidly increasing. Although he didn't deliberately cultivate, the soul-extinguishing slash's crescent blade in Knight Sorrow's spirit sea became more and more condensed. Now, Knight Sorrow was looking for an opportunity to kill Juntianya. Yun Tianlong was very annoyed. His opponent's cultivation was clearly inferior to his, but he was like a loach. He just didn't want to fight with him. Just as Yun Tianlong was about to use a large-scale attack, a sword light flashed. Yun Tianlong's opponent's protective energy shield was torn apart. His body was cut open by the sword chi. Xue Wuling had casually attacked this peak venerable when she was chasing after her opponent. You go. Leave this one to me. Xue Wuling shouted and took over Yun Tianlong. Yun Tianlong nodded and went to chase after Xue Wuling's opponent. Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling were 2 extremes. Yun Tianlong's attack was powerful, but speed was not his forte. Xue Wuling's speed was invincible, but the strength of her attack was average. Now that the opponent was changed, the situation would change. Chapter 846. Jun Tianya was very strong. If Night Sorrow wasn't here, he wouldn't have a problem fighting Yun Tianlong or Xue Wuling because he had comprehended 3 types of laws. However, Night Sorrow's law of nothingness was too overbearing, completely suppressing his advantage. He couldn't contend against Night Sorrow's power and the tyranny of nothingness true energy, so he was suppressed to the point of being forced to retreat. After blasting Jun Tianya back again, Night Sorrow used the soul extinguishing slash because Jun Tianya's true energy was unstable at this time and his defense was weak. As Night Sorrow released the soul extinguishing slash, a deep purple crescent blade streaked across the air, passing through Jun Tianya's protective chi shield and cutting towards his spirit sea. Jun Tianya's expression changed. His soul power surged out to block Night Sorrow's soul extinguishing slash. At this time, Night Sorrow, who had used the Void Extreme Slash, rushed in front of Jun Tianya and pierced his reincarnation spear towards Jun Tianya's chest. Jun Tianya, who was defending his spirit sea with all his strength, could only wave his sword to block Night Sorrow's spear. As the 2 weapons collided, a purple halo erupted from the tip of Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. The halo directly annihilated the part where Jun Tianya's sword and Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear clashed. After breaking Jun Tianya's weapon, Night Sorrow's right hand shook. The spear light burst out and directly broke Jun Tianya's protective chi shield, rushing into Jun Tianya's body and blasting him away. When the body was attacked, the soul power was naturally affected. Night Sorrow's soul extinguishing slash broke through Jun Tianya's spirit sea defense and directly slashed into his spirit sea. When his spirit sea was attacked, Jun Tianya was like a wooden man standing there foolishly. Night Sorrow's spear pierced into his dantian and then shattered it. Night Sorrow then pierced Jun Tianya's spirit sea with another spear, completely killing him. After taking Jun Tianya's storage ring and broken sword, Night Sorrow joined the other battle groups. At the same time, he gave the order to burn down the city lord's mansion and rob it. With the support of Night Sorrow, Yun Tianlong, and Xue Wuling, who were all below the saint stage, the god-slaying team had no pressure in the battle. They carried out Night Sorrow's orders directly. Night Sorrow, it's not a big problem. There are many people here, but there aren't many high-level venerables, Yun Tianlong said. This time, we caught them off guard. In future battles, it won't be so easy. We have to be faster. Although I removed the split crystal from the teleportation array, the sects near Profound Secret's royal city must have teleportation arrays. They will still teleport back, Night Sorrow said. Half an hour later, the god-slaying squad finished sweeping through the Profound Secret's Imperial City Lord Manor. Nan Liue handed over several storage rings to Night Sorrow. Retreat. While retreating, set fire to the city. Don't linger in battle, Night Sorrow ordered. After that, Night Sorrow led the way in front while Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling supported him from behind. They rushed out of the city. The members of the god-slaying team didn't stay idle either. They continuously threw out torches, poison, and poisonous water. Behind the group of people was a burning building. An hour later, the group left the Profound Secret's royal city. Night Sorrow put the members of the god-slaying team into the space-time pagoda and quickly flew with Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling. At this moment, Jun Xuanji appeared in Profound Secret's royal city with his men. Looking at the mess and the soaring flames of the city, their faces were filled with fury. We're still too late. The furious Xian Wenqiu spat out a mouthful of blood, dyeing his white robe red. Profound Secret's royal city's teleportation formation couldn't be used. Knowing that Profound Secret's royal city was under attack, Jun Xuanji brought his men to the Wandering Cloud Sword sect and flew towards Profound Secret's royal city. However, they still didn't make it in time. Jun Xuanji arrived in front of Jun Tianya's corpse and looked at the wounds on his abdomen and head. "Night Sorrow, you and I are irreconcilable. I'll definitely grind your bones to dust." Jun Tianya's body was covered with spear wounds. In the Nine Regions world, the strongest spear user below the Saint Realm was Night Sorrow. No matter how furious Jun Xuanji was, the only thing she could do now was to deal with the aftermath and stabilize the situation. Several thousand miles away from Profound Secret's royal city, Night Sorrow let out the members of the god-slaying team and had them set up camp and prepare food. Night Sorrow, these two battles were beautiful. It can be said that the victory of our Nine Regions world has been decided. They won't dare to fight in the Nine Regions world after this, Xue Wuling said with a smile. We have too few people. It'll be troublesome if we're surrounded and intercepted. What we need to do now is to return to the Nine Regions world and take down the spatial passageway. After that, we'll bring our men to the Profound Secrets realm, Night Sorrow explained his plan. That's the best decision. I was really worried. You can just lead us here and kill. We can launch sneak attacks. If we fight head-on, we won't be a match for them, Yun Tianlong said with a smile. King Yun, Senior Xue, if you have any ideas, you can tell me. Our goal is to win the war, Night Sorrow said as he took out 2 jars of wine and tossed them to Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling. You've arranged it well. It's just that when you pass by the spatial passageway on your way back, you must be careful, Xue Wuling said after taking a sip of wine. Thank you for the reminder, Senior Xue. Night Sorrow nodded. Forever. Free novel reading. After resting for a while, Night Sorrow put everyone into the time-space treasure pagoda. He looked at the map and started flying. He wanted to find the nearest city and teleport to Three Sun City. One day later, Night Sorrow entered a city called Heavenly Strategy City. Dressed in white robes, Night Sorrow looked like a young master. No one would associate him with the Killing God or the Nine Regions commander. News of the war was spreading in Heavenly Strategy City. Profound Secret's pavilion was destroyed and half of Profound Secret's royal city was destroyed. This was a huge blow to the Profound Secret's realm. After teleporting to Three Sun City, Night Sorrow flew directly to the spatial passageway. He had to go back and organize the battle as soon as possible. When he arrived near the spatial passageway, Night Sorrow used the same method. He tore open the space and advanced through the spatial turbulence. Gutianyu's formation was very domineering, but so what? The spatial passageway Night Sorrow was moving through was completely different from the one he had set up. The inescapable net was useless. Within the spatial turbulence, Night Sorrow used his spiritual strength to probe the spatial passageway. He found that the strength of the ambush at the spatial passageway was not as strong as before. This meant that the Profound Secrets realm's people had already retreated. After passing through the blockade, Night Sorrow had Yun Tianlong and Xue Wuling leave the time-space treasure pagoda. He told them that in order to confirm the situation in the Western Nether region, it would be best to first go to Western Nether City and Eastern Cloud City to investigate. Xue Wuling and Yun Tianlong naturally agreed. The two of them had absolute faith in Night Sorrow. After investigating, the three of them found that Western Nether City and Eastern Cloud City were empty cities that had been looted. There were no Profound Secrets realm people there. Taking out a flying ship, Night Sorrow sent the god-slaying squad out of the time-space treasure pagoda. They all drank and chatted. We destroyed their biggest sect and city. That's really satisfying, laughed Yun Tianlong. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.